Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started. So would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baines.
Here.
Councilmember Bredefeld. Councilmember Capriolio.
Here.
Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Olivier. Vice President Brandow.
Here.
And Council President Soria.
Here. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on to the invocation. I'll invite Pastor Ron Shirley of the Victory Life Church, if you want to come on up. And following the pastor, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, so I'd ask everyone to remain standing.
Dear Heavenly Father, we ask for guidance from above. Decisions today will be made that affect around the world. And we pray that you would give us divine knowledge, which we require to make the intelligent decisions that you're asking of us today. I pray that you would especially bless every member of this council, that they will feel your presence, your guidance, and your direction in every decision they make. And everybody said, amen.
Amen. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we'll go on to the agenda. City Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
The only change I have is item 5A under closed session. That item is going to be removed from the agenda.
Perfect, thank you. Do any council members have any changes to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Capriolio and a second by Councilmember Chavez. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Olivier absent. Next, we'll quickly just move on to the consent calendar before we go to our ceremonials. So if there's anyone from the council that wishes to pull anything from the consent calendar for discussion. So I have Councilmember Bredefeld first. I have.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Item 1H and 1M.
1H and 1M.
And then, Council President, I'd like to pull 1J, 1N, and 1O.
So I have, you're pulling 1J, 1A, and 1O?
1J, 1N,
Oh, N.
and 1O.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so before we vote on the consent calendar, we'll give the public an opportunity. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on the consent, on any consent item?
President Soria, I'd like to ask that item 1L be pulled from the agenda, or do I go ahead and address it now?
You can go ahead and address it out. If it doesn't get pulled, you can just make comments reference to that specific item. So I don't believe anyone has pulled it? No. You can go ahead and address it now. If you can state your name and address for the record, you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Jose Leon Barraza. I'm the CEO of the Southeast Fresno Regional Park and Soccer Complex Authority. We appreciate that the agreement with our Joint Powers Authority for our participation in the city's Adopt a Park program was originally has been scheduled as a consent item, and we appreciate the help and support from Mr. Bruce Rod, Mr. H. Pease from the Mayor's Office, Councilmember Chavez, and helping us to get to this point. We're very excited and ready to start generating the volunteers necessary to begin work on this project, and we urge you to approve the item. However, we believe it's important that we inform you that you and the public about our long-term vision for this 49-acre park site. Our JPA and its community partners and supporters would like to develop the entire site as a regional park and soccer complex project. These type of community-supported parks and sports complex have been built in other communities in California with different degrees of community participation. The example we would like to follow is Marysville and Yuba City in California, where the community built an 18 soccer field facility that continues to be operated by soccer leagues with almost no city involvement. Use of volunteer services from local professionals and business organizations and individuals, including donation of materials and equipment, were key components in the implementation of this project. Simultaneous to our start of work in the Adopt the Park project, our JPA board has also authorized staff with our many community partners in the launching of a fundraising campaign to raise money and seek the donation of materials and professional services to fund and adopt a park project and complete the design of the regional park and soccer complex. City staff will be kept informed about our fundraising activities, and at times we will need to endorsement of our grant funding applications. 12 months from now, we intend to come back to your council and give you a report on our implementation of this project. And would also like to ask you that you consider a longer-term lease for our development of that site. And we will like to enter into a 20-year ground lease authorizing the development of this project. We have many community organizations that have signed agreements with us to partner with us, to help us, and we ask that you help us continue the implementation of this project in the development of this project. Thank you. The chairman of the board of the JPA is here and may address your council.
Thank you for your comments.
Can I ask one question, please?
Perfect.
Sir, I just had one question. What are your fundraising goals at the end of the first year? How much money do you think you can actually raise by this time next year? What is your goal?
I would say approximately $250,000 for purposes of funding the Adopt the Park expenses, and also to have the initial money that will be necessary to start our overall fundraising purposes. Now, along the same, in addition, that's just for purposes of the Adopt the Park project. In addition to that, we will start seeking funds from different sources, state and federal sources, for the actual development of the project. Additionally, we have an agreement with the Roseville Youth Soccer League for the actual management of the facilities. That league is willing to do what it takes to manage the operations of the facility, and so that's what we're trying to do.
Well, I look forward to receiving that $250,000 check to the city of Fresno to support you in your actions there with the park.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are there any other folks in the public who wishes to comment on any of the items that were not pulled by any of the council members? Please come up, state your name for the record and your address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Councilmember, President Soria, and Councilmember. I'm Charles Garabedian, the chairman of the JPA for this proposed Southeast Fresno Park Complex. I'm also the president of the board of directors of the Malaguet County Water District. Mr. Jose Barraza came before my board in regards to forming this JPA in order to preserve the 49 acres from being reverted back to the federal government. By doing so, along with the city of Sanger, we formed this JPA in order to explore all the financial options and everything to move this park forward and hopefully in fruition that it can be developed. And of course, we know what the issue is and the challenges is getting the finances, plus once it's developed is the operation and maintenance of that park. And in doing so, once it does come to fruition, hopefully it will benefit the Southeast community very much and the surrounding area.
Thank you. State your name and the address for the record.
Okay. My name is Gabriel Lozano. I'm the program manager for SEPSIDA, and the address is 3362 East Balch, Fresno, California 93702. We can find the lack of parks in Southeast Fresno, and one thing I learned through my parents and through the Navy is sometimes you have to go out and do things yourself. You can't expect others to do that. I've never asked for a handout. I've always worked hard for what I have, and one of the things that we've done is that for funding of the park, we're working on 2 grants, one with Cal Relief and one with Cal Fire. The Cal Fire one is it can be from anywhere from $150,000 to $1 million. It is due on the 26th. We have one for Cal Relief, which is up to $75,000. That is due on the 28th. The Cal Relief, the Cal Fire one is the one that's actually meant for, it aligns itself with this project, and the Cal Relief is a supportive grant. That being said, at SEPSIDA, some of what we do is workforce development and have vocational training. So some of the things that we could do with this is provide vocational training in the green type space. We could train employees for the city of Fresno and the rest of the parks to help with some of the care and help with the other care, not only getting this part. The problem with what we have with these grants is they're due on the 26th and the 28th, and I encourage you to enter in this agreement so that we can apply for these grants, and it is an option. The other thing that it does is that we're building into this grant to make it self-sustaining in that it'll be green. We'll reduce GHG. A lot of benefits. It'll improve the life expectancy in Southeast Fresno, which is around 67 right now, and it's probably the lowest here in the valley compared to other areas, even small rural towns that lack other resources. It'll take down crime, and it's a community involvement. It's a win-win situation. I believe for the city of Fresno to move forward and to align itself with a lot of the fantastic stuff that you've already done as council members, every part of Fresno has to be at optimum. We have to get everybody involved, all parts of town. And this is a win-win-win situation for everyone. And I encourage you to let SEPSIDA and the JPA adopt this program for a park. And if you need anything or questions, you can contact me or Mr. Braza. I've been involved for this project from the beginning, and I'm just proud to be from Fresno and everything you guys done. And I think this will be something bright for the city of Fresno.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just for those folks commenting on this item, you can continue on. The item hasn't been pulled, so it seems like there is support for the adoption of the park. Name and your address. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Julio Bustos, representing Fresno Latino Rotary. My address is 4611 East El Monte Way. And as I grew up in Southeast Fresno, now I work in Northeast Fresno. And driving the streets of Northeast Fresno and then coming to Southeast Fresno, sometimes I feel like we're a tale of two cities. Anything this council can do to give the youth an opportunity to put them in parks, in soccer teams. I'd rather see this youth spending time playing soccer than all day on their phones, which is what I see every day at my daily jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment on the consent calendar?
I'm Reverend Juan Saavedra, 3362 East Balch. I'm a pastor of Grace United Methodist Church and St. Paul's United Methodist Churches here in Fresno and CEO of SEPSIDA. And I really want to thank you all in your willingness to identify these 49 acres as park. It is what the government wanted to have the city of Fresno do, In doing this, you honor the actual reason why we were given this park, this area in the first place. So congratulations. Can we make this work? Can we have a park and have it emerge from a cooperative relationship between independent entities and the city of Fresno? Absolutely. We can have this work. This can be a model for what can happen, not just here, but in many places throughout the United States. And I think there's an awful lot of public enthusiasm for doing this, for helping us make this work. So I'm extremely supportive of any efforts to have more parks, but this particular spot, this particular 49 acres is ideal. And we do have funding sources that are predisposed to helping us, helping you. And we can make this work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council President, I want to make a comment.
Go ahead.
So I was just going to say it's great to see the passion. Council President already mentioned that since nobody pulled it, that's a strong indication that it's got support up here at council. But for everybody that came out and spoke, Mr. Barraza, the rest of you that came out and spoke, you've been passionate about this for a long time. I want to say I think it's a great first step on your part to adopt the park. So it shows that you guys, are going to take responsibility over that park and then do your own fundraising. So I think those are all great first steps. So I'm very supportive of that.
I want to thank the organizations that came, Sir Barraza, Sepseda, for the work that you guys have been doing. It's been a long couple of years. And again, I agree. I think this is the first step on making that, and it's good timing. We just had the conversation about the Parks Master Plan. I think this conversation is going to fit really well into what we're trying to do. So with that, I urge a yes vote to my colleagues that are not going to say no.
So if there's no one else from the public that's commenting on the consent item, I will take, is there a motion on the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Capriolio and a second by Councilmember Chavez. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Before we go to the contested consent items, we're going to do our ceremonial presentations. And first up, we have Councilmember Chavez, a proclamation to the Sunnyside Diner in Council District 5.
Ready? Lupe, come on up. So today's Sunnyside's on the road because I think we're getting to adopt a park and we're getting to honor a local small business owner. This is something that we're going to be doing regularly. We want to honor our local small businesses in District 5. And you get to go first. And just a little quick story on Lupe. I met him, about 7-8 years ago. No, a little bit less than that because it's 6. He had just opened up, and this was in the middle of the recession, mind you, and he chose to take a chance, invest in our community, invest in himself, and it's definitely paid off. We did a small video the other day at his establishment, but Lupe de Anda is a local small business owner. He started off washing dishes in the food industry, worked at various different country clubs, and then moved on to open up his own business. And the best way I can describe him, as you can see from some of the pictures up there, is that you get country club quality food at a diner price. And so we wanted to highlight him and honor him today and present a proclamation. But I want to let him say a few words about his business that's right across the street from Sunnyside High School. Great food. He's known for his clam chowder, Philly cheesesteak, and then that dessert you see there is called an Alaskan bake, right? So I'll let you say a few words about your business.
Okay. Yeah, I opened up my business in 2012. I was in the country club business over 20 years. I worked for real good chefs here locally. My first chef I worked for, he was a graduate from Cordon Bleu School in France. And I learned a lot through the years in working in the country club business. And, recession hit in '09, and I was forced out of my position. So with all the experience that I had, I decided to open up my own restaurant. And it's really been a good journey for me. At first, it was real hard, but within time, it just started developing. I was ranked #1 on Yelp for over a year for Fresno, which speaks a lot for all the Fresno restaurants that we have here in Fresno. I'm ranked 17th on Yelp right now, and like I said, I put in a lot of hard work and stuff like that. I serve quality food at a reasonable price. If you guys are ever out in the area, give me a try. You guys won't be disappointed. I like to serve the community. I like to have the community support, So, like I said, thank you if you one day give me a try.
Hey, Lupe, what is the address of your business?
It's 5235 East Kings Canyon.
One more time.
5235 East Kings Canyon Road, Suite 105. I'm right across the Sunnyside High School.
Can you give us one more time? One more?
Okay. 5235 East Kings Canyon Road. I'm right across the Sunnyside High School.
And why I say that is you brought some of those fantastic Philadelphia cheese sandwiches in there in the back. I luckily got, I think, the last one.
Oh, okay.
They were there for like 10 seconds and they were all gone. So.
Yeah, that's one of my top sellers at the diner. Like I said, everything on my menu is pretty good. I bring a little bit difference to the southeast side that lacks, that everybody goes up to the north side.
Right.
But, we do have a good establishment with different kind of stuff there at the Sunnyside Diner.
Fantastic. Thank you.
We're going to take you on a field trip with District 5, Councilmember Capriolio. And you got to try his clam chowder. It's like if there was ever a moment where liquid butter was the term used, that's like the phrase that serves and does that dish justice. So with that, let's present you with your proclamation. So it is with great distinction and pride that we join in honoring Sunnyside Diner on your 6th anniversary. We congratulate you on being rated the #1 restaurant in the Sunnyside area. We appreciate all your family's hard work and dedication in providing jobs, quality food, and great service to our community. We thank you for all you have contributed throughout your years in business, and we wish you the best of luck in your continued success. It is businesses such as yourself that truly make Fresno an all-American city. So on behalf of the City of Fresno, the Mayor Lee Brand, and the Fresno City Council, we do hereby proclaim February 8th, 2018 to be Sunnyside Diner Day in the City of Fresno.
Thank you, folks, for having me here today.
Thank you and congratulations. Keep up the good work. Next, we have a certificate of recognition to Dr. John Hannigan and Dr. Jessica Jabrayan Hannigan.
Thank you. That's correct. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here to recognize the contributions of Dr. Hannigan and Dr. Hannigan. And this is a very special recognition because Fresno State is the crown jewel of District 4. And this is something I wanted to highlight because of the great work these two people have done. So a little bit of background. Come over here and join me. A little bit of background. It's kind of, I have to read this because it's so impressive. Doctors Hannigan teach in the Educational Leadership Department, the Crimmins School of Education and Human Development at Fresno State. This team has been recognized at the state level for their many accomplishments, all of which are fantastic, but we're missing one important recognition. That's the city of Fresno. That's where you live, and that's where we take care of business here. So we wanted to do that today. And, in addition to all your hard work, you wrote a book. It's called Don't Suspend Me. It's for some of my colleagues. You should have read that when they were in high school. But anyway, this has remained in the top 100 administration book status since its release in 2016. They reached the top 10 on several occasions in Amazon's school category. But I'd like to hear from you a little bit about this great production you made and your contributions to the city of Fresno.
I appreciate it. Thank you. What I guess led to the work on Don't Suspend Me is that we recognize the disproportionality in school discipline, specifically of students of color and disabilities. And so we identified that the traditional forms of exclusionary practices to try to change behavior was not working, and it was contributing to the school-to-prison pipeline, where it exponentially increases the likelihood of those students being involved in the juvenile justice system, dropping out of high school and ending up on welfare. And so we wanted to do something about that, but also to address the behavior. So we used those incidents, and so we took in this book the 14 most suspendable offenses in schools and gave alternatives, actual things to use to change and teach behavior, as opposed to using exclusionary forms and hoping that those students come back, quote, fixed. And so I would like to thank Dr. Berry and his wife Colleen Torgensen for being here. Dr. Berry is the Dean of the Kremen School of Education, so thank you for your leadership of the Kremen School, the support that you give to our community through equity, scholarship, and that's where we both earned our doctorates, and so the contributions that Fresno State makes around equity. And to my superintendent, Matt Nava, superintendent of Sanger Unified.
No Apaches.
That's right. For giving me the platform to be able to do this work, and of course for my parents, the love and support, and also for you, council member, for your support and recognizing this work, because these students today will be members of our community tomorrow.
I'm sure Jessica has a word with you.
She does. Was the red light blinking?
Yeah. You set the timer.
You took everything I was going to say. So I just want to say, really, I think the reason we do the work that we do is because we're in the business of saving lives of our students. And I strongly believe if we don't address the whole child, the social, emotional aspect of the child, while we have control in our schools, then we're really not doing our job. So that's really the why behind the work that we do. We want to save lives, and we want to create productive citizens in our community. And just sending students home and expecting them to come back perfectly behaved is not working. We need to teach them what it's like in real life and how do you contribute in real life and have character in everything that you do. So we appreciate all of your support, and we appreciate you. And I was just going to ask, is today our day too? Hannigan? No.
Listen, every day is your day in the city of Fresno. Trust me. With that, we have a certificate of recognition. It is an honor to congratulate you on the success of your Top 100 2016 administration book, Don't Suspend Me. You are shining examples of the immense talent from the Kremen School of Education and Human Development. Your dedication to improving our understanding of the American education system is admirable. It is ambitious and hardworking individuals like you who make us proud to be Fresno State University alumni. Congratulations. And we'd like to do a photo op, and if your family and colleagues would like to come up here, please. Hurry. Don't be shy. We have paparazzi, so. Yeah, Jessica, you are very shy. Yes, sir. I forgot someone that signed the certificate. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. Thank you. Jessica, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again. Round of applause, please.
Next, we have a special presentation, proclamation to Rogelio Roy Vasquez from the mayor's office.
Good afternoon. Roy, is he in here? Come on up. Come on up. It's my privilege to honor my former colleague on the Planning Commission, Roy Vasquez, a graduate of Roosevelt High School, Fresno Pacific University, Fresno State University, and I believe he's one of the, if not the longest serving Fresno City Planning Commissioner at 15 years. He's so old, I was there on the Planning Commission when he was there. So, and really, and this is the epitome of community service. He was there when I was there, when we were supposed to be once every 2 weeks, once every week, had to go sometimes to midnight, and of course the pay was really good, right? But a lot of stuff was done, and the Planning Commission is a very important agency, and so really appreciate your community service. And before I go any further, City Clerk, would you read the proclamation?
Whereas Roy Vasquez was born and raised in Fresno, graduating from Roosevelt High School, Fresno Pacific University with a bachelor's degree in management and a master's degree from Fresno State. And whereas Roy Vasquez has served his community as a board member, treasurer, and president of the Greater Fresno Area Chamber of Commerce, and whereas Roy Vasquez was appointed to the City of Fresno Planning Commission by then Mayor Alan Autry on October 19, 2004, to fill an unexpired term of office through June 30, 2007. And whereas Roy Vasquez not only completed the unexpired term, but continued to serve the Fresno as a planning commissioner for a total of 15 years, where many key projects were considered. And whereas Roy Vasquez is leaving Fresno to become the Vice President of Academic Affairs at Oxnard College, now therefore be it resolved that we, Mayor Lee Brand, and the members of the Fresno City Council do hereby commend Roy Vasquez for his commitment to our community and thank him for his many years of dedicated service.
So with great pleasure, we name today Roy Vasquez Day. And Roy, you want to say a few words?
Mayor, I'm honored. I'm beyond words. I'm very humbled by this kind and generous gesture. Born and raised in Fresno, I love Fresno. It's a part of me. I will continue to contribute as much as I can to the well-being of this great city and to the residents. This is truly an honor. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. One more hand.
Hey, Roy.
I think there's a couple people punched up, so we'll go ahead with Councilmember Brandau and then Councilmember Capriello.
Hey, Roy, appreciate the time of service. Between the two of you, there's like 212 years of experience right there. But you know, there was a couple of times, it's really goofy for a council member to come to planning commission meetings, but you guys tackle a lot of important stuff, and sometimes you hear about problems and things before we do. And there's been times, Lee, over the years that I've called Roy, chit-chatted with Roy. I know we have some other commissioners in the room today as well, but you've always walked me through, okay, this is what was discussed, you know, this is why we voted the way we did, and you've been very helpful to me, so thank you, Roy.
My 2 cents, Roy, is that when I was appointed in 2010 and 11, having no experience with land use, you took me under your wing and really led me to understand all the different issues and how complex it is, but you simplified it. You made it very understandable, comprehensible, and our other colleagues, Syrup is in the back, the current chairman of the Planning Commission, and all of us couldn't do it without you. You had so much experience and leadership, and I'm sure they're going to be very happy at Oxnard with what you bring to that school. And be sure and come back and visit us, and you're welcome here anytime.
Well, my family is here. I've been here for generations. I will continue to be here. I come on the weekends when time permits.
I think I have Councilmember Chavez punched up.
Roy, first of all, congratulations on your position as a fellow Rough Rider. We're very proud. I'm class of 97. Councilmember Capriello's class of 32. Mayor's class of 64.
1832.
18. What class are you, Roy?
81.
81. Okay, yeah, he's young.
He's younger than you. But congratulations. Thank you for all your years of service. And I know that you're not going to go too far. You got a lot of strong roots here in Fresno. And, you know, yeah, come by and say hello. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. Next, I will present this proclamation along with H. This is going to be for the point in time count in Fresno County team. So if you guys want to join me up in the front.
Yeah.
So very proud to be presenting this proclamation to two of the women that are part of a larger team that have led the point in time count in Fresno County, not only this year, but years past. And so I just want to say a couple words in terms of the work that they've been doing. So every year here in not only the city of Fresno, but throughout the county, we participate in this point in time count, which helps assess how many sheltered and unsheltered homeless individuals and families are within the nation. This count is extremely important for the city of Fresno and for our entire community. It helps organizations understand the homeless population and also helps them understand what types of resources and services we need to be provided. And I know that this is an issue that impacts the city of Fresno, and that the council and the administration is committed to figuring out ways how we can best address the situation. If we look at the numbers from last year, when I look at these numbers, it's a little depressing because no one should be unsheltered in our community. No children, no mother, no human being should be unsheltered. And to see the numbers that we even have 211 veterans who have served our country, have fought for us, and risked their lives for our freedoms, continue to experience homelessness in our community. And so we must do better. And so we know that the work that you guys are all doing with the point in time count is essential work, and it helps us better understand the needs that exist here in our community. So we did want to present a special proclamation on behalf of our mayor and our entire council to recognize the work that you guys are doing. Before I pass on the mic, I did want to have HB share a few words.
Thank you, council members and President Soria. The point in time count is more than just a routine annual event. It is a community-wide engagement where folks in the continuum of care mobilize volunteers from churches and organizations and neighborhoods and leaders throughout our community. I had the privilege to be a part of the point in time count last year as well as this year, and it's absolutely crucial. If you have the opportunity to be a part of the point in time count, it will change you, because you see people on the street, you talk with them, you engage them, you see veterans that we care about on the street. And one of the most powerful things is that because of our great homeless service providers, you begin to realize that we know our homeless folks by name. The mayor wanted me to be here to congratulate the continuum of care and all those involved in the point in time count, because he believes, and we all believe, that nobody deserves to either live or die on the streets of our city. So we are right now engaged in the next generation of interventions for in reducing homelessness. There will be a strategic plan that is being rolled out in the next 60 days or so. All of the homeless service providers are involved in this. We have been the best city on the west coast of the United States in reducing homelessness over the last 10 years, but we have no joy in that because there's still about 1,500 Fresnans out there on the streets. So we are relentless in terms of pursuing that. We're so grateful for you guys and your leadership and the leadership of your organizations.
Did you want to say a few words?
Thank you. Just that this year was probably one of our most successful in terms of recruiting volunteers. On the first night, we had 189 people show up to do the count, and our normal number on that is 125. So we had over 200 registered volunteers over the course of the 3 days, and that first night was huge. So it was really exciting.
Well, thank you again, and congratulations for all the work that you guys are doing. City Clerk, if you could read the proclamation for the record.
Whereas the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Built for Zero campaign, and local agencies have supported the Fresno Madera Continuum of Care, FMCOC, in their commitment to end chronic and veteran homelessness. And whereas to adequately provide a coordinated homeless housing and service delivery system, the FMCOC must understand the region's homeless population. During the last 10 days of January, the FMCOC conducts a point-in-time count to get a statistically reliable, unduplicated count of sheltered and unsheltered homeless individuals and families in the United States within Fresno and Madera counties. And whereas, in order for the point-in-time count to be successful, it will take an effort to recruit and train volunteers to canvass Fresno and Madera County streets to survey the county's most vulnerable homeless individuals and families. Volunteers will be asked to participate in a training session, assist with the tally and survey of the homeless, provide donated items and supplies to make cash donations to support the purchase of supplies for the hygiene kits and food for volunteers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Fresno Mayor and City Council does hereby support the Fresno Madera Continuum Care in their efforts to conduct the annual point-in-time count in Fresno County and encourage residents to volunteer and assist with the annual count of our most vulnerable homeless individuals and families to help end chronic and veteran homelessness by 2018.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause for the great work that they're doing. Thank you, ladies. So next, we will have the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes of January 25th? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
So there's a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Next, we'll go to council member reports and comments. I have Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you, Council President. I have a few things to report. On Tuesday, I attended the open house for Valley Caregivers. I can't stress the great work this organization does for our community, especially helping families that are dealing with Alzheimer's disease. And I'd like to invite the public and all my colleagues to go out to the site and tour it. They have the OASIS program and the PAL program, and it really makes a difference in those that are impacted by Alzheimer's disease or dementia and those horrible things that happen in our lives. So I think you all would be amazed at how caring and hardworking these people are. So please go out and tour the site and chat with them. I think it's time well spent. This morning I had the pleasure of attending the State of the University given by Dr. Castro. And I wanted to thank Dr. Castro for his bold, that's his favorite word, bold leadership and the great partnership he's formed with the city of Fresno. And it's partnerships like this that help our city, and it also helps the students out there thrive. And of course, that's the crown jewel of my district, District 4. Speaking of the university, I want to congratulate University High School. They won the Fresno County Academic Decathlon for their 7th time. They also won the National Decathlon for small schools. They won that 10 times. So way to go, University. It's an amazing part of our community. We have some great leadership coming out of the university. Two more things. I wanted to give a shout out to Paul Leffler. As you know, he's the voice of the Fresno State Bulldogs in many of their athletic activities. He's very active with the honor flight at Fresno International Airport. And his gesture of donating a kidney to his good friend R. Michael Alexander, he's a perfect model of what we talk about in giving back to the community and doing things for people that are special for you. So I want to thank him and wish him a speedy recovery. Finally, I wanted to thank Parks for all their hard work. Special thanks to Parvin, Sean, Chris, and the administration for gaining more green space in our community. And this Saturday, February 10th, we'll celebrate the kickoff of the Weekend Recreation and Fitness Program. That's at Vinland School. It's off of Gettysburg and Maple. From 11 to 2, we've got FPOA cooking for us. We've got a DJ, bounce house, lots of activities. So bring your family, bring your friends, come out and have some fun at Vinland Park this Saturday. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Councilmember Brandow.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to mention to my colleagues and to those in the audience today, last Friday, a small group of us took a trip. Don't be running off. A small group of us took a trip to San Diego for the purpose of an educational trip to look at a strategy they've implemented in dealing with homelessness. Speech from the mayor's office and my staff, Robert Jeffers in particular, put together the trip with the same type of folks from San Diego, the administration of the mayor there. And we also took Chief Dyer with us and a couple of our providers, Preston Prince from the Housing Authority and Sean Jenkins from FMCOC. The six of us did a one-day trip, came back the same day, but we visited three, I guess you would call them tents. People call them tents, but they're very substantial buildings. And we're looking at the opportunity of maybe implementing a similar strategy in the city of Fresno. And this would be temporary or bridge shelter for our homeless population. As many of you know, that we are still tackling that situation in our city. Like all cities across California on the West Coast, is very complex and difficult, and there's a lot of different doorways into that conversation. But they're doing a fantastic job in San Diego. We visited 3 different structures. One was dedicated to veteran homeless. Another one was to women and families, women that have children. And then the third structure were singles, men and women. And these are all 3 very large tents, maybe 200 feet long and 50 feet wide. Very impressive structures. But they're temporary, so you get to bypass a lot of other permitting problems, and you can do something to impact that community relatively quickly. So we returned from the trip. We've had a couple of decompression meetings. We're still talking about how could this be used in the city of Fresno. We haven't come up with anything yet, but I just wanted to put that on everybody's mind that we're looking into it. So I want to thank everybody that went with us and thank our friends in San Diego who facilitated a fantastic meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. Now I have Councilmember Olivier.
Council President, thank you. I just wanted to alert the council and also give an attaboy to our police department and to our investigators, Chief Jerry Dyer, and with some help from the FBI as well. An arrest was made in the murder of Casey Haggard in District 7, right around the corner from my place, and on Blackstone there. And it took 2.5 years, but they hopefully they got the right person. They have no reason to believe that they don't. So that person is now beginning his day in court. And so I just wanted to say that there's an unsolved case that has now been solved and hopefully will result in a conviction. So thank you to the police department for all their good work and their investigation that they did. Also wanted to thank Jerry Schuber, the folks from Community Sanitation, and also our police department for the work that they did helping to clean a homeless encampment located in my district in downtown here. And so they were able to get out there and rectify that situation. and take care of it. We have the best community sanitation department. I would put that department up against anybody, any other city's department, and Mr. Schuber as well. So thank you to city staff is basically the message of this report and comment. Thank you.
Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yes, I too wanted to thank staff. Last night we had a district meeting. We had nearly 200 people that showed up, and we had Police Chief Jerry Dyer, Captain Bridges, and Jerry Schuber. Of course, Chief Dyer and Captain Bridges addressed many public safety issues and some of the crimes that have recently taken place out there in District 6. And so I'm grateful to them and all of the work they do every day on behalf of all the citizens of Fresno. And I appreciate Jerry Schuber and agree with everything Councilmember Olivier said about him and the department. Thank you.
Just want to say thank you to Jerry Schuber, our street sanitation department, for that big help over at the East Fresno Baptist Church. We had an encampment there, and Deacon Ted Luster was very helpful to the folks that were there. But I just want to thank also Jerry Schuber and his team. They did an amazing job of coordinating with the church and the residents there. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Now I'd just like to take a moment, to first recognize the Aspen Valley Prep students that just walked in. If you guys can stand up. Aspen Valley Prep is actually located in District 1, and I am proud to have had them today to come and visit our office to invite us to their Leadership Day, which is scheduled next month. Welcome to City Hall, and thank you for being here, and thank you for the invitation. I hope to see you guys next month, okay? Thank you. Next, I just wanted to make a couple comments. I got the opportunity to attend the Dress for Success ribbon cutting, which is opened up their location here in the downtown area this past week. And so this great organization helps women in need and helps them go through job interviews by providing them not only with resume and interview skills, but they actually provide them a suit or a dress and the shoes and down to the purse and even jewelry for their job interview. If they're successful in attaining the job, then the organization provides them with a week's long worth of clothing supplies. And so it is just very telling about the work that is being done here in our community to try to support people that are looking for jobs. And so I'm very proud of the work that these women are doing to bring Dress for Success here to the city of Fresno, and just want to congratulate them for their work. The other thing that I just wanted to announce, we are going to be having the District 1 4th Annual Women of the Year Awards. So we have sent out our nomination forms and reminders. We've been having this now for 4 years. So we're asking folks to please turn in some nominations. I know that there's phenomenal women within our community that live, work, or volunteer within District 1. And so we have various categories like business, community engagement, education, health and wellness, youth. We like to also recognize the youth doing great work, arts and culture, public safety, and military. The nominations will be open until March 1st, and we will recognize these women in a special celebration at City College on March 17th. And now we'll move on to the contested consent calendar. And so the first item that I have is 1H. So do we have staff for 1H? And that
Bruce. Yeah, on this Oracle, I just want to know how often we're doing a contract for $355,000 per year. How often do we need these services? I mean, is it an everyday kind of thing that we're accessing?
I think I got up for the wrong one. I'm going to hand it to Brian.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Brian Horn, CIO, City of Fresno. How you doing?
Good. So how often do we need access to these services that we're paying
This
for?
is a yearly renewal. This particular application actually is database support. covers a number of enterprise applications, including PeopleSoft, the desktop management, Data 911, Riskmaster, a lot of GIS services. So it is basically a citywide service. It's yearly, it's annual, so it's about $300,000 a year, plus or minus 10%. Last year it was 303. This year it's gone up 3%, and so it's Oracle. Now we might be moving away from it maybe in a couple of years because we're looking at PeopleSoft replacement, so that will come down. But right now this is where we are with these software maintenance.
So the thing, is this part of the money paying for the software, or is it for like consultation services, or both?
It's service. Well, kind of both. It's services. It's updates, upgrade, software support, any upgrades they have. So we will own the rights to upgrade the software at the latest and greatest version. We'll have support. So if we have any problems with it, so that's what this is.
Do we use support services? Are we contacting Oracle and getting support services pretty regularly? Is that what happens?
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay.
Yep. We did it recently with a Data 911 issue that we had over at PD.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Bredefeld and a second by Councilmember Chavez. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. So there's a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. We'll go ahead and move on to item 1J, an approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between Hands-On Central California Retired Senior Volunteer Program and the City of Fresno Parks Department.
Just want to say good afternoon, Council President and also City Council, Parvin Nellums, Parks and Recreation Director. Good to be here.
I pulled this item. I have no problem with the item, but I just needed a little update. When I was kind of reviewing this, there's a map that shows the service pattern for our senior hot meals in the city of Fresno. And it looks like we serve senior hot meals in 6 locations. Is that correct?
We serve senior hot meals in about 6 locations. We're looking at serving at 7 and adding Inspiration.
Okay.
And as you know, we serve about 30,000 per year here in San
How many thousand?
About 30,000.
About 30,000.
Yes, sir.
And so we're looking at adding the 7th at Inspiration Park. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
At the community
Inspiration.
center there.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then a couple of the other locations, they had some overlap. There's kind of some overlap of the service center. And I don't know if you consider that like a mile out from the community center, or what is that distance where?
I want to say about a mile and a half. Would you say, Sean? About a mile.
Okay.
At least a mile.
And in some of them, there's like overlap, and then there's other areas of town that have no realistic to where a senior could get to one of the centers really easy. Are we looking at expanding that in the future? Or?
Yeah, we're going to look at it. We're going to do an assessment, on all of our programs, and also assessment on the senior programs as well, the meals program. And we'll obviously meet with Sean to determine, what sites need to have more add hot meals and what sites need to have less hot meals. So we're going to do an assessment.
Well, all right. I just want to get some clarification on, how that operation was going. So it's great that we serve 30,000 people. I specifically appreciate the Pinedale Community Centers included in that.
Thank you. Thanks for the support.
We hear a lot of good things. We're going to a lunch tomorrow at that community center. So I do appreciate all that work, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you very much.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Brandao and a second by Councilmember Chavez. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. I'll just want to make one comment. I appreciate the information that you just provided, the update in terms of the number of hot meals we served, and I'm also excited and thrilled that you guys will be coming to District 1, out to Inspiration Park. We know west of the 99, there's a lot of need, and it's always great to see that our resources are getting across the freeway, so thank you. Next, we have item 1M. Oh, no. We'll take a vote. Sorry, I forgot to take the vote. So we do have a motion and a second. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, 7-0. The motion passes 7-0. The next item is item 1M. It's approve the agreement between the City of Fresno, SMG, and the Fresno Clovis Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Now I got the right item.
Yeah, so the question on the sales manager position, if we have SMG, why the need for this sales management position?
So we implemented this 3-4 years ago. So let me go back a little bit, history, provide some context. At one time, the City of Fresno, through the Convention Center budget, contributed probably close to $700,000 a year to the Fresno Convention and Visitors Bureau. As a result of the Great Recession, like a lot of other things, that funding was eventually completely eliminated.
And so we funded it before?
Yes. So out of necessity, the CVB went out on its own under the leadership of their CEO and brought together all the hoteliers and other stakeholders and came back to us and say, if you will agree to allow us to begin to assess a fee, because they had to get permission from some authority or a nod from the City of Fresno, we can stand up our own CVB by having other stakeholders contributing to that. They are very successful in doing that, but now it became a countywide CVB. So the focus on conventions business in downtown is not something that you can ask a hotelier in Clovis to pay for, because of course they have their own priorities. So about 4 years ago, again, in an effort to try to generate additional business in the convention center, and more importantly, the number of room nights in hotels in downtown, we entered into agreement with the CVB, who works with SMG, to go out and attract new conventions, not conventions that are already or were already on book or already scheduled, but to add or increase. Part of that agreement calls for them to report on a monthly basis the impact or the amount of revenue that they're generating, and room nights and additional books of business or conventions. It's been very successful, and at $100,000 compared to $700,000 a year, it is one of those changes that came about as a result of the recession. It is actually proven to be very, very effective.
Okay, I make a motion to approve. Thank you, Bruce.
So there's a motion and a second. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. I did have one question for you, Bruce. So the previous contract was what length? Or the previous agreement?
I think it was, well, that's why we're here today. It's
2 years?
3.
Was it 3 years?
No.
So 3 years. So is there a reason why we can't keep it for just the same amount of time and then provide the opportunity to do an extension?
If council wants, as we shared, if the council wants to make a motion to provide staff, the city manager, with the authority to enter into 1-year extensions beyond the 3-year period, then that's certainly the prerogative of the council. I think it came as a suggestion from the attorney's office, but we'd be more than open to that.
Well, because I think the contract says 5 years. I would feel much more comfortable with a 3-year, and then with the approval of the additional 1-year extensions. I don't know. I'd like to hear from my colleagues if they have a preference, but I would just kind of like to keep it the same as before. Okay. It gives us an opportunity to revisit as a council. Just, is there any? I would make a motion to put the agreement for 3 years and then give the authority for the 1-year extensions.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think there's anyone punched up, so we'll go ahead. So we have a motion and a second. I believe I take the vote on my motion, City Attorney? I take the vote on my second motion, correct? Since I've amended?
That becomes the main motion then, yes.
Perfect. So there is a motion and a second. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item is item 1N. It's an actions pertaining to the lease agreement between the City of Fresno and the Fresno Football Club. Lease space in the historic B building located on 1555 Van Ness.
Good afternoon, Council. Laura Gloria, Deputy City Manager. The item before you is a lease agreement between the City of Fresno and Fresno Football Club for space at the historic B building. It's about 9,500 square feet for $4,000 a month, which is inclusive of utilities but not parking or janitorial in their leased space. Let's see. It's a one-year term with the 6-month option. Our office is here for any questions, as well as we have a representative from Fresno Football Club here and our asset manager, Gary Mathias from Cushman & Wakefield.
Cool. Laura, I'm the one that pulled this item, and really, and I see Jeremy sitting back there. Jeremy, we love you. I just wanted to, and I'm very glad that we're leasing space. I mean, we have buildings throughout the city of Fresno. We need to be putting them in play. And so I'm very glad of that. How did we arrive at the 42 cents per square foot? And is that a going market rate, or how did we come up with that?
I can bring Gary Mathias up. He can speak to the market rate.
Please.
Sure.
Yes, Councilman, the rent is probably 60% of what is the going rate is downtown. But it's come to everybody's attention that the property has been on the market for so many years with no takers. Extremely hard to lease. There's 2 floors already leased. That we were putting out a carrot, if you might, to give a real low rent, because there's a rumor that if they do like everything and the football league goes really well, they might buy the building and be in there long term. So everybody came to the conclusion something was better than nothing, and they are paying quite a bit for parking.
Okay, so Gary, what percentage of the building is the Fresno football
They're taking
leasing?
9,000 feet.
And so how much of the building is that 9,000 feet?
Laura?
There's about 5 floors. They're taking 2 floors. So
They're taking
CMAC
2 out of
currently
about
operates.
40%.
It's 2,600 square feet total is my last calculation.
Okay,
The
and so you're saying that 42 cents, you recognize that's a little low, about 60% of market rate, but we're doing that because this building has spent so much time vacant without a taker. Is that right?
Yes, and their ability to buy the building should everything work out in the football club favor.
Okay.
And pardon me, council member, if I may interrupt, I also want to point out that the tenant is actually paying for all of the tenant improvements. So we took that
That's a good point.
we took that into consideration when we negotiated the rate with them, that all of the tenant improvements are on them. And so whatever they do will ultimately be part of the building. And so that was taken into consideration.
Oh, yeah, that's valuable also. So, okay, I just needed some clarification. I felt like when I read that was a little undervalued, and I wondered why we were going up, but your explanation makes sense. So thanks, Gary, and thanks, Laura. And Jeremy, we're looking for you to buy that building from us, it sounds like. All right. I'll make a motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second? So motion made by Councilmember Brando, a second by Councilmember Chavez. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll come back to the dais. The screen is clear. So we do have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Next item is the item 1-0. It's a resolution establishing the Elm Avenue Brownfields Area-Wide Plan and Implementation Strategy Steering Committee.
All right, and I pulled this item.
Councilmember Baines.
Well, and I pulled this item too. It's sponsored by my colleague, Councilman Baines. And Oliver, I had just not heard about this. So rather than just hearing it and voting on it the first time on a consent calendar, I thought maybe you could just walk me through it a little bit, tell me what it's about. And then my specific questions are, does this area-wide plan require funding? And has the funding been appropriated? So either you or maybe Jennifer could help me.
Yeah, I'll if Jennifer's still here, she can.
Yeah, she's
there she is right there. But I'll answer the latter 2 questions quick. No, it doesn't require any additional funding. There's a staff person that has been assigned to internal staff person that's going to work with the committee, quite like we do implementation committees or something like that. That Elm corridor is saturated with brownfields, and from my position, it's been one that I've always wanted to tackle in order to prepare it for future development. It's going to take some time, though, in all honesty, to go through and understand what needs to be cleaned, how it needs to be cleaned. There are dollars at the federal and state level to get some of these brownfields cleaned up. The committee really is the idea of the committee is to give some thought and planning to what that corridor should look like. The next council member that serves in this seat will have to deal with it. And hopefully I'm laying the groundwork for the next person to kind of walk into some planning and some thought that's gone into it beforehand.
And so what types of things could we hypothetically see take place?
Well, hopefully they can be, you can do some higher density housing along there. You can bring retail, you can bring commercial. There are a number of uses really that corridor is perfectly designed for, but candidly we haven't given it much attention. So this is kind of our effort to begin to give it attention. It really fits really nicely on the heels of the Southwest Pacific Plan, because there's been a lot of thought for the whole area, and now we're going to kind of zoom in and narrow in a little more specifically on that area right there.
Well, it reminds me of that building we just talked about, the building that sat vacant for so long, getting something positive happening there. So it sounds like you're doing the same with this area of town. And so, again, I was very supportive, but I just wanted to hear a little bit more about it from you.
And I appreciate it. I probably should have just brought it under city council. But it's kind of it's a routine thing, and I haven't made the appointments yet, but we want to set the groundwork so that we can do it. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in the community input and process in the district. I have a very active community, and they always want to be involved. So this again keeps them involved, keeps them a way to have some say over the future, and it kind of lays the groundwork for the next person that'll be here.
Well, I'm glad to make a motion to approve.
Can I make the motion?
You can, absolutely, if I can second it.
You can second it. Okay.
All right.
Great. So we have a motion and a second. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. The only thing that I want to see if we can clarify on the resolution, I am supportive, and I want to thank you for sharing the information and your goals with what you're trying to do with the committee. So the committee is going to be set for, seems like a 4-year period, and the resolution delineates the membership. However, I think if we look at 4B, and this is the attorney in me, and I apologize for that, but it says the member shall be appointed by the following manner. And I know that you will make the initial appointment, but once you're gone, over the 3-year period, we probably want to clarify that the council member from District 3 would have the ability to fill in whatever vacancies, if that's okay?
Yeah, that's actually a city attorney. Can we just take care of that in the motion, or how do we? Cause yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, if the council approves it that way, we'll just change the resolution to say whoever the council member is for that district.
Yeah, So as a matter of fact, let me make a motion accepting Councilmember Soria's advice on changing 4B to the council member of District 3 as the appointing authority.
Perfect. Thank you. And with that, so we do have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. What time is it? 2. So we will go on to our 2 o'clock hearing. Is there staff here for the 2 o'clock? This is to consider a plan amendment application number A17010, rezone application number R17014, and the related environmental assessment.
Good afternoon, Council President and Council members. My name is Jose Valenzuela. I'm with the Development and Resource Management Department. This afternoon, you'll be considering the subject plan amendment, rezone, and related environmental assessment. For the record, between the Planning Commission and today, I received 2 letters in opposition to the project. No changes have been made to staff's report. Staff has prepared a presentation at your request and is available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item?
Good afternoon. Madam President, members of the council, my name is Jeff Roberts. I'm speaking on behalf of the owner, the East Shields Development Company, an affiliate of Granville Homes. Our business address is 1396 West Herndon in the city of Fresno. And we're here requesting that the City Council approve both a plan amendment and rezone application for 4.87 acres in what we call the Belterra neighborhood. And for the record, I'd like to state that we do concur with the staff recommendation. We concur with the unanimous recommendation of the District 4 Implementation Committee and the Planning Commission, which occurred in December, which was a unanimous recommendation. We've been working in this area a long time, about 12 years, and have worked on the annexation, have worked on a variety of projects. This 4.87 acres represents about 3.5% of the entire Belterra area. And I think I'll just cut right to the chase. We're again supportive of the staff recommendation, and we would appreciate your support. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you. Another fantastic part of the project over there. You guys have been developing that so well, and it's really an attribute to District 4, so it's my honor and privilege to make a motion to approve.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Capriolio, a second by Councilmember Chavez. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 5-0 with Councilmember Baines and Brandau absent. Next, we'll go on to the 205 hearing to consider a plan amendment application number A16017 and rezone application number R1618 and the CUP. Staff.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Margot Lurwell, planner with Development and Resource Management. In the matter before you, the plan amendment rezone conditional use permit application. No changes have affected the project or the staff recommendations since the Planning Commission action. We do have a presentation prepared if the council wishes to view it and are available for questions.
We'll go ahead and go out to the public. There's no one on the council that is requesting the presentation. So we'll go out to the public. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item?
Good afternoon, members of the council and Madam President. Thank you for your time today to review our application. We're here just asking for 2.4...
Can you state your name and your address for the record?
You're right.
Thank you.
My name is Giorgio Russo. I reside at 2014 West Alluvial in Fresno, California. We are asking for 2.41 acres of 7.1 acres of the corner of Herndon and Blythe to be rezoned, and we also need a plan amendment and a conditional use permit for 3 commercial pads. We've met with the neighbors and have full support of staff and the residing neighborhood. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Perfect, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on this item? If you can state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Madam President, council members. My name is John Kinsey. My address is 265 East River Park Circle, and I represent the Sierra Sky Park Property Owners Association. We're a group of property owners that are adjacent to the Sierra Sky Park Airport, and with ultimately the goal of preserving the viability of the use of the airport. I'm here to thank the applicant and to support the project. We had some concerns about how the project was originally formulated. The applicant heard those concerns. The applicant worked with us, and ultimately our objective is to support development because that provides our group certainty. So with that, the Sierra Sky Park Homeowners Association supports the project, and again, we'd like to thank the city staff and thank the applicant as well.
Perfect, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Brandau.
Yeah, we've been following this project for some time. It's been through several iterations, so and I've been very happy with the group that's been flexible to listen to some of the concerns from the citizens that live there. At the same time, progress moves our city forward. So we're going to be developing all of the land on Herndon Avenue. And whenever we do that, there's people that have their own private concerns. And I understand, I'm willing to listen to everybody. But I think this group has been very forward-thinking and are going to put in a great project. I think they've listened to a lot of the concerns. I know that we've met together several times, so I'm going to make a simple motion to approve.
Perfect. So we have a motion, Councilmember Brandao, and then a second by Councilmember Baines. Is there any opposition to the item or to the motion? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. He's right there. Next, we'll go to the 210 joint meeting of the City Council successor agency to the redevelopment agency of the City of Fresno and the Fresno Revitalization Corporation. Marlene.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We, the agency, entered into...
Closer.
I'm on. Oh, thank you. We, the agency, entered into an owner participation agreement with Granville for this 48-unit development located in the 700 block of Fulton Street that was constructed back in December of 2011. The owner participation agreement provided assistance in the form of a $500,000 grant and a $800,000 30-year loan at 1% in consideration for 55-year covenants on the property. The property is in escrow with Fulton Village LLC, the new buyer. The agency's loan has been, and in this sale would continue to be, in second position to the bank. And to strengthen our position, we've negotiated a guarantee with the new buyer that includes both an individual guarantee and a trust guarantee that include assets of real property in the amount of over $37 million. The buyer is putting in about $3 million in cash, and that cash, along with the agency's note of $800,000 and the bank loan, total a sales price of $7,992,750. So if you have any questions, would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. The screen is clear. I do have just one question. Just for the record, and I don't know if you mentioned this, you may have, I was distracted for a minute. On that 1% loan of the $800,000 that we provided, essentially it purchased the 80-plus covenants, right, of affordability? Is that what it did?
We made the loan in consideration of receiving covenants, and those 55-year covenants remain on the property in this with this transition.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record, that those covenants would remain.
Those
are the benefits that the City of Fresno gets from our investment.
Precisely.
Perfect. Thank you. So is there a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Capriolio, second by Councilmember Brandao. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next, we will go to General Administration, item 3A. Oh, did I miss that one? No, I got that one. And this item is a bill for introduction, amending sections 5302, 5303, 5304, and so forth.
Good afternoon, Council President, Council members. Jim Shad with the Department of Transportation. We had brought this item to you in about April of 2017. It regards amendments to the municipal code to address fare evasion on our transit system. And it was triggered by the BRT system where we're collecting fare off board. At that time, there were some concerns brought up by council. To summarize, there are three. What type of citation was a question, whether it was going to be an administrative or a criminal citation, the process for which we might appeal, or the violator may appeal, and then the ability to pay. We've since worked with our city attorney's office and came up with some solutions. As the report states, we did establish an administrative process, which we would use our hearing officer to hear any appeals. We've established financial penalties that are in alignment with Penal Code 640. And then lastly, we allowed for community service for violations for those who could not pay. The first violation would be a $50 penalty, administrative penalty, or 8 hours of community service. The penalties go up as we move forward. The second offense would be $100 or 16 hours, and we'd go all the way up to $250 or 40 hours of community service. We plan on using police officers to enforce. They will do monthly audits, roughly. We're not going to tell people when we do the audits, but they'd be roughly monthly spaced, and they have the ability to enforce on a more frequent basis randomly. And then last of all, for the first couple months, we will be having our officers out there to educate folks. We won't be enforcing with penalties right away. I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you for the presentation, Jim. So let's go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Brandau.
All right, cool. Thanks, Jim. So essentially, when was it we tackled this item? Was it
we tried April of 2017.
coming up on a year?
Yes.
And some of council was concerned about the way people were going to be held accountable.
Yes.
For fare evasion. Okay. And so it sounds to me, I read the staff report and then hearing your presentation, sounds to me like you dotted all the I's and crossed the T's.
Yes.
And, okay. What we just learned through an experiment was when we reduced the fares, we didn't really see an increase of ridership in the city of Fresno fax system. And then we also saw that we sacrificed raising more of our share of revenue to qualify for federal programming, right? And so I think that now having known that, I think it's incumbent upon us to collect fares and to send the message that we're serious about collecting fares. So I appreciate that you dotted the I's and crossed the T's, and I'll make a motion to approve.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Brandau and a second by Councilmember Chavez. Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yeah, the question I have is, in April, how are these penalties different than what you're presenting today?
We were following the penal code specifically, and that doesn't define well what penalties. It gives a maximum we can charge. So the thought process was we need to be more specific on what the charge or the dollar amounts were. It also allows us to provide for community service, but doesn't define the amount of community service. So really we were looking for a scale that was, I think, a reasonable amount of money to charge or service to ask the person to do if they violated. And the expectation is as the violations occur more frequently, up to 4, then the penalties would become stiffer. And once we do get to 4, there's a misdemeanor penalty assessed at that point.
Am I mistaken that in April it seemed the penalties were more significant than they are now?
Yes, they were.
How so? That's what I'm asking.
The penal code allows for up to $250 per violation, but it doesn't say that we have to charge $250 per violation.
Okay, so
the maximum.
Okay, I'm still not getting clear in terms of in April how this differs in terms of what you provided to us.
I think we just referred to the penal code at that point in time.
But you offered an amount, if I remember, of what the penalty was going to be, and maybe it was earlier in the first violation or the second violation. Right now you have in the first violation, is it $50 and 8 hours of community service?
I don't have the original item we brought to council with me, so I would have to get back with you on what that penalty
See, that's what I'm wondering. It seems like something's changed, and it seems like it's been weakened to some degree from what was before. That's what I'm trying to get clarification.
So I would say, yes, it's been brought into alignment with what I would consider, at least me, a fair amount. Our parking tickets would be a good example. It's about $40-some for a parking ticket, $50 or 8 hours of community service would seem a reasonable amount for fare evasion on the first violation.
Okay. Bruce, were you going to add something?
So, a couple of things. One, when it came to the council in April last year, one of the challenges, it wasn't specific because it was going to be left up to the courts because everything was going to be treated as a misdemeanor. What's come back now, and under the state penal code, it talks about a process other than under state penal code in which transit agencies, there's special legislation that allows the transit agency or the board of that agency to establish a policy in which they can apply a level of penalties not to exceed $250. So as Jim said, what you have before you now allows a progression of penalties. It also provides for community service, which was not provided to the council in the previous iteration. And one of the things I heard when I was sitting there was, well, how do we hold people accountable? And how do you hold people accountable if they can't pay for something? And that's why they were evading fares. This recommendation allows the hearing officer, and penal code also requires a hearing process in which a violator, as Jim indicated, has his day or her day in court. So what you have before you now allows us to hold people accountable because, one, if they can't pay the fare or don't pay not the penalty, they can provide community service. And the department has utilized adult offenders for a number of years. So there's plenty of work for us. So it's not the money that we're looking for, at least in my mind. What we're looking for is a way to hold people accountable. In addition, if you fail to perform the community service or you fail to pay the citation, then it does trigger a misdemeanor, and then we have the right to pursue that in court.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I mean, that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in some real accountability here. So if they don't pay the fine, if they don't do the community service, that's what would trigger the misdemeanor. And I think we had the misdemeanor, I think, a step or two early on, as I recall. Maybe it was all a misdemeanor initially. Okay. So that's what I'm recalling. I'm recalling that it was maybe more well-defined. It was clearly we were going to that point before we get to the fourth time. So just the concern I have is, I mean, a fourth violation means somebody for the fourth time has either, not done the community service.
Well, let me add, what you had before you was also limited to BRT. Under state penal code, the misbehavior or the violation listed under the penal code as well as what's in the staff report applies now to the entire system.
Okay.
So it's not just BRT related, it is entire fax operating system.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bruce, for the clarification.
Councilmember Chavez.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you for the work you guys are doing. I had a chance to drop by. I did and saw your state-of-the-art operation, minus that piece of equipment that's in the dispatch center. It looks like an old typewriter, the Zetron 2000. I think we need to replace that very quickly. But I would just recommend that my colleagues go out and visit and see the work that you guys are doing. You got a lot of great folks working over there. However, I do recommend that you work through our city manager's office so that nobody gets in trouble and everybody's on the same page. But I showed up to take a couple of pictures and ended up getting a tour, but it was actually very educational. And I think there's a lot of value in our colleagues going out there and seeing, folks that literally make the wheels go round on the bus and see exactly what city services are all about. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm more than happy to support the item today.
Thank you, and you may have created an epidemic with driving the bus in the yard.
Oh, yeah.
Councilmember Olivier.
Hi. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Greg, for the great work that you're doing with FACTS. As you know, FACTS has been one of my favorite departments over my years here. Very interested in the whole art and science of moving a population in public transportation. Look, I'm going to vote for this today. I'm going to support it. I'm going to support it because you want to do it, and you're the expert, so I'm going to defer to you on this. The reality is this council sending a message? Well, maybe we think we are. But the reality is nobody checks the penal code before they go to break the law. Nobody says, oh, you know what? If I murder this guy, I'm going to get the lethal injection or I'm going to go away forever. It's just not part of the thought process. The capital punishment isn't a deterrent to murder, and our little system isn't going to be a deterrent to fare evasion. I think the best that we can hope for in a place, in a world of scarce resources, and in a world where, in a world of AB 109 and Prop 47 and Prop 57 and a state government that doesn't care about petty crime. I mean, they don't even, you can steal a firearm and get a ticket these days. So our chances of combating fare evasion with strong-arm tactics, to me, could turn out to be a waste of very precious and scarce city resources. I think that if you catch a fare evader, that punishment should be they're kicked off the bus. I mean, we continue to kick them off the bus, and pretty soon our drivers are going to learn who the fare evaders are. We kick them off the bus. To me, that's probably the most cost-effective and effective way to combat fare evasion. I think to create files and paper trails and community services and sending out $100,000 a year employees after $1 thieves, I think is a gross waste of money. I mean, does anybody on the council agree with me to send out our most expensive employees to go after $1 thieves? Well, then, why are we voting for this? So, I mean, maybe I just talked myself out of it.
Well, I might add.
And Jim, I appreciate your work. And Bruce Rudd, I appreciate. I talked everybody out of it. We're not voting for this anymore.
I might add that that's not the only reason we have the officers out there. Those officers will be doing much of that work as they do other portions of their job, providing safety and security for the system.
And I do appreciate the work that our FACS officers do. And I know that I have spent years fighting to increase their number and get them out there. But I didn't fight to increase their number to have them going after fare evaders. So I just talked myself out of it. And council, I think maybe we just amend it to eject people off the buses. What are we going to do, really? What are we going to do in a community where you can load up a shopping cart with $950 worth of stuff at Target and get a ticket? How are we going to bust people for stealing a $1 bus ride? So, food for thought.
Councilmember Baines.
Well, this happens like a couple times a year where Clint and I are in agreement, I was sitting here thinking as I was listening to all the debate or discussion about, the fines and the penalties, it just crossed my mind. How much is the fare to get on the bus?
$1.25.
That's what I thought. I would not be in favor of using a bunch of resources to catch somebody for a $1.25 fare evasion, to be honest with you. Listen, when this thing first came to us, we had it baked in as a misdemeanor. It was ridiculous then for somebody that didn't pay $1 to get on the bus. I'm going to vote for this today in support, because we need to do it. We need to have it. We need to have this on file. Obviously, there needs to be something, but, look, man, I don't want to turn into Gestapo about somebody that's jumped on and off of a bus for $1.25.
Council member, I appreciate the fact that you said you're going to close your eyes and hold your nose and vote for
this.
I
will.
But as I pointed out, this is not strictly about fare evasion as it was presented a year ago. There is a whole litany of other behavioral issues that could trigger this. And it's not just BRT, and it's just not fare evasion. So if you're doing things like being loud and challenging and or being a disruption on the bus and threatening other people, this could trigger that. So there's a whole litany under the penal code and under the policy that allows this to be applied. So it's not just fair. So I just want to assure we're not using the officers for this purpose exclusively. In fact, this provision doesn't say it has to be a police officer. One of our FACS supervisors could come up on someone who has to be ejected from the bus because they are being unruly. And of course, we have videotape that would be used to support that. citation. So it isn't just about fares. It's about behavior and other things that could happen on a bus, even to our bus drivers, our employees, that could trigger this.
No, and thanks for that, Bruce. I just think my comments were just, look, we want people to behave on the bus. I agree that, and there should be a code of conduct on the bus. I totally support that. We want our bus drivers to feel and be safe as well as the other passengers, right? And I totally agree with that. But somebody doesn't pay to get on the bus. I don't want a $100,000 police officer chasing them down the street. So anyway, has there already been a motion for this? All right. I'm in ejection seat. Okay.
So I just want to add to the comments that were just previously made by my council colleagues. I know I had a lot of heartache last time when we first had the discussion. I hate to feel like we're in the business of criminalizing poor people, and so that's how I felt. And I think that you guys took this some of the suggestions and you guys worked with us. I have the same sentiments in terms of the wasting our resources. I would not want to see us prioritize really the use of our officers, which could be solving crimes, could be addressing property crimes. We no longer show up to people's homes when we get broken into. And so I'd hate for us to go chase down, the $1.25 or whatnot, or whatever the fine ends up being. But I do appreciate you guys creating a process where if people can't pay for it, because obviously if they couldn't afford to pay the $1.25, there is a mechanism where we can still hold them accountable, and they know, and hopefully it will deter some of that. But I know also, like you said, there's an important component is that we got to make sure that there is good conduct happening on those buses, so that people are not deterred, but actually encouraged to utilize our bus system. So for those reasons, I will be supportive today. Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yes, I think this is where I was going with this whole thing, and I think Councilmember Olivier pointed to some of those points. I mean, I don't think we're criminalizing poor people. I think we're criminalizing criminals, people who violate our laws. And one makes the assumption that they're violating the fare because they can't pay it. Maybe they're violating the fare because they just don't want to pay it, and they can pay it. And how does that go with people who actually do follow the rules and pay the fares, but we ignore people who don't? My problem is, I think we had a stronger provision last time, and we've softened it now. That's my problem with this. I think this should be a misdemeanor right at the outset. It's a violation. It's violating the law, and we're giving them 4 times before we get to that place. 4 times. I mean, it's Prop 47 for the fax system. It's Prop 57 for the fax system. It's weakening our laws. And I don't know why we give people 4 shots before we give them a misdemeanor. So I'm not going to support this. I would be interested in supporting something that has some teeth. I also don't want to have our critical resources, our police officers going after fare evaders, but if they do, I don't want it to be 4 times before we get to a misdemeanor. So I just don't think this is a wise course. I understand you're trying to follow, the provisions and the rules laid out, but I just don't think this is going to get us anywhere. And I think, as Clint was saying, it's using resources going 4 times, and I don't think it's going to stop anybody at the 4th time. If they're obviously going to be evading fares, I don't think they're concerned about community hours, and I don't think they're worried about fines. And we know, these folks do that. And I don't think it's about criminalizing poor people. It's about criminalizing people who violate laws. So I won't support this.
So there's a motion by Councilmember Brandao and a second by Councilmember Chavez. Any opposition to this motion? So the motion passes 6-1. Thank you.
That's 2 flops in like 7 minutes. Whatever. Good luck, gentlemen.
Next, we have item 3B, resolution authorizing submission application for grant funds for the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. And I will need to recuse myself because there's a conflict. Thank you.
I'd second the motion. Member Baines? I'll second your motion.
No, go ahead, Laura.
Okay. Good afternoon, Council. Laura Gloria, Deputy City Manager. The item before you is the authorization of the submission of an application for grant funds from the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District Public Benefit Grant Program. Sorry, it's long. The grant application will be used to support South Stadium Phase 1, called the Park Apartments, which include 54 units, 11 of which are affordable, that will be built on the corner of Fulton and Inyo in downtown Fresno. This item has no impact to the general fund. It is a resolution to apply for the funds, and if we are awarded the funds, we'll come back to council to accept those funds. Our staff, as well as a representative from Noam Fraser, are here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. And I don't think Council President made it clear, but since she recused herself, I'm going to take over this item. So we're going to go out to the public now. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item? Terrence? No? Okay.
No, he knows when he's winning. He don't need to say nothing.
Okay. Well, seeing nobody from the public, coming back up to council, Councilman Baines, this is in your district?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve.
You have a motion and a second by Council. Huh?
I made the second before you motioned.
You know, I caught Councilman Chavez. Oh, yeah, you know, you're right. You made it in advance. Okay. I can't see the screen, so council members, are there any comments? Just let me know by raising your hand. All right. We have a motion and a second. Do I have any opposition this afternoon? The item passes 6-0 with Council President Soria recused. Thank you. All right, item 3C before she gets back. She's probably, I don't know. Is she coming back? There she is. We're ready for you.
So next item is item 3C.
Ready for me? Okay. Good afternoon, Council President, council members. What you have before you is a resolution authorizing a city manager or her designee to execute an agreement with the California High-Speed Rail Authority to provide continued funding by the High-Speed Rail Authority to continue our efforts with the High-Speed Rail Impacted Business Support Services Program. And that program, at this point with the resolution, is to look at the amount of $1.6 million for this contract to begin March 1st of this year and to terminate through December 31st of 2019. Had a chance, be happy to answer any questions, and Leanne Eager is also here with the Economic Development Corporation, who is a partner with us in this program.
Perfect, thank you. We'll go out to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. The screen is clear. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilmember Chavez, and I'll make that second. Any opposition?
I wanted to make that motion. No, just kidding.
We would happily let you make the motion, Councilmember Brandao.
I withdraw my motion. Go ahead, Councilmember Brandao.
Hey, I do have one question. Okay, just one. Are we all caught up on our current payments between the authority and the city of Fresno, and where are we at on that?
I believe so. I think all of the invoices that we've received from the EDC so far, and all of the reimbursements on the work that I was providing on that have been received. It's my understanding.
Okay, so we're all caught up. I have no problem making a motion to approve.
Second.
Perfect. So we have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Next, we have item 3D. This is a workshop explanation regarding building permit timelines by the mayor's office. And this is a workshop, so we wouldn't be having any public comment.
Good afternoon, Council President,
council members. We've distributed the memo, so I'm here to answer questions if you have questions on the memo. And just purpose of the memo was to let the council know that we're taking business-friendly Fresno very seriously. We understand there are issues. We're going to address these issues in a comprehensive fashion, and look forward to working with council members Brandau, Chavez, and Olivier that are on the committee, and the other council members for your input to improve the situation and make Fresno the most business-friendly city in California. With that, I'll take questions.
Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you for being here today. And
you're welcome.
How did this come about? Why are we here today to discuss this? Is there some particular items that are of concern that we can help you with, or you can help us with, understanding Business Friendly 2.0?
Not sure how to answer that question. I think it just came up because the issue of making Fresno more business friendly and helping smooth the permit process so people can come in and get more certain information and more certain dates has been on people's minds, and it's been brought before the council by various people. It's something we take very seriously. We also think it's something that the Excella software, which is almost it's in the beta testing phase now, my understanding will be rolled out to the development community here in the next 30 to 60 days, that once that's in place, this will provide us with an avalanche of more accurate but also more organized and accessible information than what we've ever had in the past as far as the process. We'll be able to identify specifically how long each project has taken to go through the process, if there's a slowdown or a log jam, where it occurred, which I think will allow us to then make decisions as far as how we deploy staffing and resources to address those log jams if we see that they're systemic through the data and analysis we get back through the Excella system.
So is there any way to prevent that log jam from applicants who are the delaying factor?
That's what Excella, I think, will probably provide us that information, is to see where they are. I know each and every one of you get contacts from constituents that have issues with the development process. We get a ton in the mayor's office as well. And it varies depending on the project where that particular project may be falling behind, and it may not even be that it's falling behind. It's the applicant has a certain expectation of when they want it done, and it may be that the last place it's sitting could be fire, could be public works, could be planning, could be in a variety of different places. It also could be in public utilities. So what we have now basically is anecdotal information. What we're looking for with Excella is to have exact information, which will allow us to address that.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Councilmember Brandau.
Yeah, Tim, I was just, if you could, I mean, we've all seen the memo that you referred to, but there's people that will watch this on the public, they won't know what we're talking about. Can you just hit a couple of the highlights in this memo that you mentioned?
I think one of the things that the memo shows that it's not always an issue with the city processes on these delays. Sometimes in certain circumstances, the applicant will bring in maybe not the best plan, or the contractor will not deliver the best service. And in certain circumstances, the comments are sent back to them, and they don't return them for 3 weeks in some cases, 2 months in other cases. We've seen situations where it's taken 7 or 8 months.
Brianna did. Brianna White.
And if I may, I also wanted to add that I've committed to you all. I know a lot of your offices bring projects to my attention that might be stuck in the process. And so I've committed to each and every one of you that I will track those down with staff and find out what the issue is. And so the memo also that we provided last week also outlines that, just that for a couple of them. And I know I deal with a lot of your offices on many, many different projects. And so, BFF 2.0 is a priority for this administration, and I want to make sure to help get projects unstuck when they're stuck and make sure that we do the research to find out what the problem is with each and every one. So again, the memo just highlights a couple in particular that were brought up at the last council meeting.
Is his mic working now? Is it working?
No.
Oh. Can you make sure you figure that out,
I
please?
haven't touched anything. My hands have stayed right here. Oh, great. I don't do karaoke.
I don't believe there's anyone else punched up. Councilmember Butterfield?
Were you done, Councilman Brandon?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with what you said, Tim, in terms of there are obviously applicants that come, they're at fault in terms of things being delayed.
It's not necessarily just that they're at fault, pardon my interruption, but sometimes both are at fault. The city can be at fault and the applicant be at fault, and between the two of them, it adds lengthy amounts of time.
Yeah, and I don't dispute that. And as I mentioned, the people who greeted me at the door, I think those are the second folks on your memo. These were people I didn't know, saying, that, if it's not turned around quickly, their business that they're representing and trying to get done is going to go out of business. So, that may be, may not be. But, I think we can all agree at least that the problems that have existed at City Hall in development and planning and building permitting, it's not new. I mean, this has been going on for 30 years, I would say.
At least.
At least. And so, obviously, I've spoken about it. The mayor's spoken about it. Many of us here have constituents that call their offices. You get calls. I mean, I've got a list here of people that we could go into, which we don't need to, of ongoing issues. So I know the mayor's, looking at this BFF 2.0 exclamation point. We brought something forward trying to bring accountability as well. And I hope that we can still try to come up with something that may work or may not work. But I don't think, we can pretend that this hasn't been a serious problem for us in the city of Fresno for a long time. I mean, when we have people like John Brailsford, who does millions of square feet of industrial space and says his experience is that, dealing with Fresno all through the years he's been doing this is a difficult one, and he deals with other cities, and he goes in other states, and he doesn't have those difficulties. That's significant. That's serious. I mean, he doesn't have any stake in this other than to speak what his experience is. And so that's what I think we all ought to take very seriously. And I know the mayor's doing his 2.0, but I want to tell the council has a responsibility. We're a policy-making body. And I don't think the council should wait for the mayor to come forward with plans. I think the council has an obligation to do something about this. I think there's a real need for action. And we all run on saying we're going to roll out the red carpet for business, we're going to solve our problems with business. And so I think we all, as council members, have a responsibility as well to work with the mayor and to also come up with ideas and plans and policies that change the culture at City Hall so this really is a business-friendly city. And we've had administrations that have come and gone. We've had council members come and go, and the bureaucracy resists change. I think we can all agree on some of those points. And so I would also call on my colleagues to not simply wait for the work of the BFF 2.0 exclamation point to be done, but that we should also be coming forward with our own ideas and plans and proposals and propositions to make some real changes here. And that's what I intend to do. And I hope the politics can be removed from it, and I hope ideas can just be based on merits. That's what I hope. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that's also why we have 3 council members, the maximum we can within the Brown Act, on BFF 2.0 exclamation, to help on that policy-making side.
Councilmember Brando.
But that doesn't mean that no one else on the council is prohibited from looking at these issues and coming up with ideas and solutions. Our doors are always open.
Okay, thanks, Tim. I'm going to have you take a seat. I'm going to call up Bob Solis over here. He made a trip down to City Hall the second time, and this has been very important to him. Bob, like to give you, in workshops, Bob, we don't usually go out to the public, but if you'd like to take 1 or 2 minutes. I think you've had a chance to see the memo. I'm not sure if the administration sent you a copy, but when you came and talked to council a couple weeks ago, there was a memo that was a response to some of the thoughts that you had shared with us. And so I wanted just to give you a chance. I saw that you came back down to council a second time. So, could you give us a couple minutes?
It'd be my pleasure. My name is Bob Solis. Other than being frustrated at that particular situation that I had and bringing it to the council, I had heard about all the issues that are attributed to the planning department, the permit department, so on and so forth. Until I experienced it personally, I had no idea what the people were talking about. And so when it affected me personally, and it affected, well, my family, I had to do something. This is my hometown. I was born and raised here. I like it here. My wife still loves me and is married to me. So this is something that's really important to me for you as a council to look into it deeply and get it resolved. Get it resolved. If it's been going on this long, where does the buck stop? Where do people like myself come to help to resolve this? We bring it to you. It is your responsibility to see what you can do with it. And hopefully we can improve this department. Not all these people, believe me, not all these people they're hardworking city employees, very hardworking. But something happened along the way and it became so bureaucratic that it amazes me. This is not Fresno. This can't be Fresno. And thank you very much for giving me a chance to say something.
Well, I appreciate it. And I took a meeting to my colleagues, the members of the public that are here and watching online. I took a meeting with Bob in the last week, kind of heard because I had read the memo. And thanks, Bob. You can go ahead and sit down.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And so in trying to understand, and I read the memo, I believe the memo, and I also believe Bob. So I think what's important, especially for the three of us on the mayor's committee on Business Friendly Fresno 2.0 exclamation point, that we always are very aware that for every Bob that comes down here and takes the time to come down here, there's 10 or more that we don't hear about. And so it's very important to always hear from guys like Bob. And Tim, I get the memo, and I agree with the memo too. I'm willing to say publicly, there's been many times, this is what I've learned from council, that people that complain about something, when you go to investigate the actual complaint, you see that they had a part of the problem. And so I don't want to get into the details of this particular one, but that happens over and over again. And so it's just very, it's very important that we get it fixed, because we can't have guys like Bob out telling all of his neighbors that we're doing a crummy job down here, and which I don't think we are, but we definitely do. And Tim has let us know today that there's things that are going to be fixed, and we look forward to fixing those. So thanks, Bob, and thank you, Tim.
Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yeah, and I agree with what you say, Councilman Brandow. I mean, there are many Bobs, and we should not have to have people, when they run into problems, either be well-connected, know a council member up here, or know the mayor or the mayor's staff in order to work out a problem, or have to hire a lobbyist to get through their process, because that's what has to happen now. Often, not all the time, but that's what often has to happen. We get the calls, and I get the calls. I don't think we ought to just put it on people. get their applications done completely. Clearly, that's the case in some cases. Not going to dispute that. But we have a problem here. There is a real problem. It has been a problem for a long time, and we all up here, I hope, don't defer our responsibilities to come up with solutions as well. The mayor's going to work on his coming up with solutions, but we need to be proactive as well. And I think we really need to be very active in this and coming up with real solutions. I'm open to anything. I'm open to looking at any ways to deal with this, because there are significant implications when things are delayed. Mr. Solis talked about the impact it has on his family. Well, Ali Nakamanish talks about business and it costing him money when there are delays, and he's waiting for other people who are waiting for that permit to get through, and they can't do their job, so he's losing money there. This is a long process that costs people money, time, business, jobs, all of the things that we as politicians say we're all pro-business and we're all about getting jobs here. But in some sense, unless we're actively making a change in the culture here and really turning this into a business-friendly city, we're as responsible as the previous politicians that were here for the past 30 years. That's what I'm imploring our council to do. And so I hope that's really what we do, and we're not just waiting for a group that's going to study this for a year and come back with recommendations to the council. I think we have a greater responsibility than that.
Thank you. So we will move on with our agenda. Sorry. I didn't see you. I am so sorry. Councilmember Baines.
I came late to the party. It's okay. I want to just make a couple remarks, because we're really talking about a lot in this discussion, and it's a worthwhile discussion. Thank you, Tim, for in the mayor's office for putting this on the agenda today. It really is an important topic, and thank you, Steve, for what you said. I've experienced the same thing. The number of times I've had someone call my office and be upset about something, and then when we get into it, we realize, well, hey, it's not as black and white as what sometimes our customers think. But I think that they generally walk away feeling wronged, and that is a problem. Even though it may not be entirely a staff-related issue or city-related issue, the fact that we're sending people away with a certain feeling is not the idea. So I totally get that. And I get what Councilmember Bredefield is saying, too. Yeah, we should not be, for lack of a better word, putting all of our responsibility over to the administration to come up with problems and solutions. Yeah, we're a policy-making body. We should solve policies. And so I'm going to say it like this, because I do agree with that sentiment, and I think we do bring a lot of policies. I just also want to make sure that we understand why we're here. We're here for the benefit of our citizens. Our citizens are best served when we work together, when the administration and the city council can come into alignment and an agreement on an issue, and there's some continuity of thought. Our citizens are served better that way. And I think that while we don't necessarily just wait forever to do things, I think that we have to be mindful, the administration has to be mindful that there are opportunities, and this being one of them, around this issue where we can all get a bunch of great minds in the room and even sometimes agree to disagree, but we all should be trying to figure out a way to work together on behalf of our citizens. Our citizens, Mr. Solis, he needs that. And for every one of him, that the 10 that didn't come and speak and the 10 of them, they need us to figure it out up here for their benefit. So we're really talking about some pretty serious stuff here, folks, for the people out in the audience and for the people listening at home. And I'm calling us as the city leaders to kind of a higher place. We need to figure it out. It's not just about doing something. We do need to do something, but we need to do the right thing, and it needs to be done right, and it needs to have the impact. For many of you that have worked with me for a few years, know I'm all about the outcome. I don't even care about credit. Our citizens don't care who gets the credit. They don't care if it's the mayor's initiative or the council's initiative. They really don't care. What they want is the outcome for them, and we should be concerned with that. And so I say that because the entire dialogue, I think, needs to be elevated to one more level where we are trying to work together. I applaud the mayor's 2.0 exclamation point. I applaud your efforts, Councilmember Brettafield, for recognizing a problem too and saying, hey, you want to be a part of it. And now we got to figure out how we bring it all together. You know, because if we do it in a competing fashion, our citizens and residents don't benefit. So let's come around this issue. We're in total agreement. Everyone actually wants the same thing. And that's sometimes rare in politics. We actually really all do want the very same thing for all the right reasons. We want this to work better for our citizens. But we got to figure out a way to make it work. So my pledge to our citizens out there is that I'm going to take responsibility for that on my end. You all deserve better from this entire institution that's here to serve you, and I'm going to take responsibility to do what I can to bring you all the right results in a timely fashion. Because I agree, we shouldn't have to wait forever to do something. There are things that we can do, and things are going to be done, and we all need to be working better at that. So anyway, thanks to my colleagues for indulging me for a moment, but I realized what we were talking about. We're talking about some serious stuff, and people are listening, and I hope that we're giving them the right message.
Perfect, thank you. So we're going to move on to the agenda, and what we're going to do at this time, we're going to go to closed session. Then we will come back at 4:30 to the various scheduled items. So City Attorney, is there anything that we need to announce?
Yes,
for closed session?
Council, for the closed session, we are not doing 5A. And in 5B, the McShelly case, we are doing existing litigation. Then Silva versus City of Fresno litigation. Perez versus City of Fresno litigation. And then also labor negotiations concerning ATU. And Council, did you want to do the workshop when we finish with closed session?
After. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. We're resuming back to our 4:30 scheduled items, and we have our scheduled item number 1, which is scheduled communication appearance by George Torres on behalf of Mary Esther Correa to discuss code enforcement. Is George Torres here? Seeing that George is not present, we'll move on to the next item scheduled for 4:30, item number 2, appearance by Gary Dosescli? Dosecli, sorry, to speak about the transit system. If you can state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Sister.
We'll have 3 minutes.
First of all, my name is Gary, and 209 Exit Way. The transit bus, the new buses on Blackstone, every time I get on the bus, get ready to go to Fresno City College, the drivers is not have no box on the machine, and they're so rude. And also is the driver is not doing the job right. They got too many bags, too many carts, and all that. And nobody can walk out to the aisle, okay? And then that's dangerous. And then the bike rack is okay because I'll bring my bike all the time. And look at her. She's laughing. She knows me into my school. But, that is dangerous. And me, Clint knows I ride the bus all the time. And because of school. And that's why I'm here this late, because I got to school in the morning, and I am the rounds to Fresno City College. Yeah, that's a problem is the box to the blue buses. And also there's a driver, all the kids, grown ups is cussing, F4, all that. They're not doing the job right. And I know the Manchester Transit will be opened up to February 19. I can't wait for that because then they had a supervisor out there for checking the drivers. So, so that's what the problem is. And we're tired of it because I already did talk to the drivers a couple of times, and they said, well, it's not my job. That's me. What? I'm going to talk to my boys. And so that's why I'm here for. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your comments. Clint, did you want to?
Gary, I've enjoyed the dialogue that you and I have had over the years, and I rely on you to let me know what's going on out there. I appreciate it very much when you come here to council to share your remarks with us, and they don't fall on deaf ears. When you report stuff, we follow up on it. I mean, obviously, I know I'm speaking for council and for city manager too.
Yeah.
That, quality, as it pertains to our bus system, is a priority. So, I mean, obviously, we're going to take what you have to say.
Yeah.
And we want our drivers to be friendly, and we want our buses to run on time and be clean. So,
and
we
also
appreciate your comments.
Also, Clint, the bike crash is no problem because I just bring my bike all the time to the Fresno City College. And then also, yes, the bus run is 15 minutes.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you, Gary. We'll continue to dialogue about that, but thank you for coming today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I know you're a real good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sister.
Great. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the scheduled item for 4:30, number 3. Oh, and before I guess I go to the number 3, I just want to let the council know that if there's no opposition, item 4A, we're going to put on to the next council meeting. So if we can make a note of that, City Clerk. No, we're not. 4A.
Right. Okay. Good afternoon, council members. Bruce Rowe with the City of Fresno. The item before you today is a license agreement between the Ian Group and the City of Fresno that would be used to allow Grizzly Fest to occur in Woodward Park. Grizzly Fest is a one-day or has been a one-day event that historically has been held in spring at Chachansey Park and features various performing artists representing a wide variety of music. Earlier this year, we were approached by the promoters of the Ian Group about the possibility of moving Grizzly Fest to Woodward Park in an area that's located west of the Audubon entrance, or if you look at the park, it's the further west side of the park than and away from the amphitheater, because that is historically where musical events occur. We did have an event in October, not of the magnitude of Grizzly Fest, in this location. And interesting, a number of the concerns regarding that we've heard in the past with regard to sound from the amphitheater, we did not receive a single complaint for that event from this other location. While the item was originally considered by council last week, or 2 weeks ago, there was a motion made to table the item for a couple of weeks to give staff and a council subcommittee additional time to meet with promoters to identify other ways to mitigate the potential impact on the adjacent neighbors. As a result of those discussions, The administration did meet with the promoter. We had met with a council member, in particular from District 6, who had raised issues ranging from allowing the event to extend beyond the typical 10 o'clock period, as well as concerns about traffic impacts on the adjacent neighborhoods. As a result of those discussions, we presented a couple of recommendations to the subcommittee last week. Those recommendations are now incorporated in the agreement that you have before you. So very quickly, let me go over what is contained in this agreement at a very high level. First, the Ian Group would act as an independent contractor to manage Woodward Park for the purposes of holding a 2-day music and cultural festival on May 18th through May 19th. In addition, which is one of the provisions that was negotiated as of last week, abide by the time restrictions set forth in the agreement, including a $1,000 per minute penalty for any amplified music or any music that continues to occur after 11:30. That $1,000 per minute penalty will continue until 11:40, at which time it will go to $10,000 a minute. And then anything after midnight will go to $100,000 a minute. In addition, the promoter has agreed to provide additional mitigation measures to ensure that event participants do not park in the adjacent neighborhoods. This is very similar to what occurs for the cross-city race, in which the adjacent neighborhoods are actually barricaded, and unless you live in that neighborhood, you will not be able to go in and park. And so that is in addition to the other steps that they're already taking to try to mitigate the impacts of traffic and event goers, again, going into the neighborhood. They will be required to return the park to the condition it was prior to the event. They are also required to enter into agreement to fund the essential law enforcement and supply all required security officers and implement all the security protocols identified by the Fresno Police Department. They will comply with all the applicable conditional use permits related to the serving of liquor and other ordinances. They will indemnify the city. In the event that anything happens, we are indemnified, and they will have to provide that policy 30 days before the event will occur. They will pay the city of Fresno $100,000 for a reservation for the ability to use Woodward Park for this event, and a $1,000 cleaning deposit in the event that the park is not cleaned up after the event. The Ian Group, again, will, like we have with the CIF long distance track meet, they will be monitoring or managing the entrance and will charge a fee for event goers who are going into the fee. So they will be managing the parking gates per se. And then depending on the outcome and depending on if this event is a success, the city manager has the ability, with the consultation of the Fresno Police Chief, as well as Fire Chief and the Parks and Public Works Department, to consider a second event. But again, that is dependent upon whether or not this event goes off without a whole lot of issues, and that in general is considered a success. In closing, we looked at this in a couple of ways. One, was this event that's well attended by the community? And the answer is yes. Secondly, what was the impact, or how could we best impact how do we mitigate the impacts to the neighborhood and the adjacent residents? And we believe that we have taken a lot of actions in addition to the actions that we recently added to the agreement. The promoter is here, and we can get into I'm going to try to, but the sound system that is going to be used here, as they explained, will point the sound down, which is different than what was used at the Taco Fest. And again, there was not a single complaint related to noise with Taco Fest. Again, it is in a different location than what we historically have held concerts or these type of events in the past. So with that, unless there's a question or anything that the promoters would like to ask or add, that concludes my presentation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Bruce. So at this time, we're going to go out to the public. And when you get called up, I do have a few cards that were filled out. I'll call those folks first. They'll come up, say your name and address for the record. You guys will have 2 minutes to speak. You'll get a minute warning when the time is up. And once those folks have been called up that turned in cards, I will also open it to other folks that may want to speak. So first, to start off, I will call Sherry Alexander. If you can state your name and your address for the record, you will have 2 minutes.
Greetings, council members and president. Sherry Alexander, 9454 North Woodmont Drive, Fresno, California, 93720.
Perfect. Proceed.
Yes, I live, my husband and I live real close to Woodward Park, and we always hear when there's music going on. Actually, it doesn't really bother us because we're far enough away that we hear the music, but it's not disturbing no matter what the music is. But the reason why we're here tonight, and we attended the community meeting last night as well, is a concern about all the cars being parked in our neighborhood. And I'm hearing that they'll be cordoned off. The neighborhoods will be cordoned off. And also just curious about why Woodward Park is being chosen. And I've read on the internet about the reasons why, such as concern for safety of shooters from tall buildings. And I'm wondering, I'm just wondering about that. Is that what's driving this, or is it the $100,000 that the city's expected to get, or why not other venues? As I said, the music doesn't really bother us we just live a few blocks away, but and I don't actually care if they go till midnight either, but it's more why exactly this is being chosen, and we'd rather not have a festival like that in the park.
Thank you. We'll take your comments, and then if any of the council members who wishes to address your questions at the point where we begin to have the discussion, they will be free to answer those questions. Thank you so much. Next, we'll move on to Mike Andritelt.
Andridge?
Oh, sorry, Andridge.
Right. Thank you. My name is Michael James Andridge. I live at 416 East Balfour Avenue, Fresno, 93720, and I'm here in opposition to the idea of turning Woodward Park into the concert that you have planned. Actually, I have 3 brief questions that I'd like to give out to you, and then I'll wait for your answers in return, and then a comment at the end. My first question is, historically, our little city here has a long history of losing money on just about everything it touches. What does your business plan project as the net profit dollars that are going to come to the city as a result of this event? First question, net profit dollars. Secondly, has Chief Dyer reviewed and approved the security plan to guarantee protection of the surrounding neighborhoods from congestion, on-street parking, trespassing, as well as access for emergency vehicles to the assisted living centers in the area? And I'm concerned because I just heard Bruce Rudd say that he's turning over the management of it to an independent contractor to manage Woodward Park, which is a city park that taxpayers paid for. That concerns me. And last but not least, what is your plan to deal with illegal drug and alcohol abuse in our local park as it spills into our local communities? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Robert Bashan. If you can state your name, your address for the record, you will have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, council persons. Robert Bashan. I live at 396 East Balfour. My major concern is noise from events at the park. My wish or my feelings are that my neighborhood should be an environment similar to any other neighborhood in the city. When there are concerts at the amphitheater, I get noise that penetrates inside my house, and I object to that. If I had my druthers, I would think that the city would not use public parks for commercial purposes, such as concerts. And I think that's the main thing I wanted to And I think that essentially covers my concern. It's mainly the noise, and I guess the other point I want to make is that in terms of park use, it occurs to me that parks ought to be places where people can go and recreate and have a quiet and serene setting. The events that take place, and this one that's we're talking about in particular, is 180 degrees out of sync with that kind of concept that I have for a public park. So, thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next, I have Sarita. If you can state your name and address for the record, you'll have 2 minutes.
My name is Sarita Nam. I live at 425 South Maple Avenue, across from the Fresno Fairgrounds. I work 2 jobs, and I support all these community events. I'm here today to represent the people that work the jobs that I do, retail, customer service, 9 to 5 jobs, that they are unable to voice their opinion. Here, me being young and modern, I support anything community related. Our local soccer, I went to their opening reveal costume, even our local baseball. I'm just not that seasonal person who only goes when a name star comes in. I'm that kind of person who supports the community always going to our local shops, anything downtown, Fig Garden, and I do ride my bike as well. So to me, I'm just a person who is community orientated. And I want our community to be fun. I support our local artists and our local vendors that will be there. I don't understand why we can't have it at a park. The presidential inauguration is at a park. New York Fashion Week used to be at a park. In San Francisco, they have the Blues Festival, hardly strictly at a park. I think people are just in opposition because they don't like things that are cultural and change. And for us, it's, they're keeping us quiet. For us young people and modern people who want to do things, good for the community, who want to bring positive change. And I'm just not okay with that. I had a friend who's in the Foo Fighters cover band go to Champlain and Perrin, perform there, and because there's a bunch of customers who said, oh, it's too loud, they got kicked off the stage. And it's not because it's too loud, it's because they don't enjoy that type of music. Alternative rock is okay. It's okay to have culture, it's okay to have community. And so I am in favor of this because I think that it'll bring a lot of enjoyment to our community, and it'll bring a lot of exposure for our local businesses and our local vendors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So those are the only cards that were filled out. However, if there are folks that want to come up, you guys can kind of line up. But next person, if you can state your name and your address for the record, you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is David Tittle. It's 582 East Richmond Avenue, Fresno, California. And I'd like to thank Councilman Bredefeld for holding the council meeting last night. Sorry they threw so many slings and arrows at you for you being opposed to the Grizzly Fest. I think one thing that you mentioned yesterday is that the promoters had stated that they have curved speakers that would mitigate sound. I've had extensive sound mitigation training. I advise architects, I advise our building department, and I advise builders on sound mitigation. And sound is not linear. It doesn't go in one direction. I can turn around like this and everybody can still hear my voice because it's omnidirectional. So it doesn't matter how the speakers are curved, that sound will still penetrate the neighborhoods. I live about 8 blocks away from that, and I'm okay with the music that they have till 10 o'clock at night, but certainly not till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. The other thing is that we're making a special exception. Woodward Park has a sign out in front of it that specifically prohibits consumption of alcohol or smoking in the park, yet we're going to make a special exception. So do we make special exceptions for anything? You can now smoke in school and drink in school? Okay, thank you.
If you can state your name and your address for the record, you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Janet Kroger, 2422 East Marquise Court.
Fresno 93720. I have no opposition to the Grizzly Fest. I just think it's the wrong venue. As a city, we've spent an enormous amount of taxpayer dollars. It was my understanding that the downtown area was supposed to become an entertainment zone for the community and to draw people downtown for the local businesses. So your first national event where you have a big name coming into town that's going to bring in lots and lots of people, you're moving it north of town. That's kind of, I don't know. In my opinion, that's a slap in the face to the people who've just underwent a year of having their businesses impacted by this renovation. I think it's just the wrong venue at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving our communities.
And state your name and your address for the record. You will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Dana Scott Skilperort. Me llamo Diego en español. Mucho gusto. Buenas tardes. My address is P.O. Box 28552, Fresno, California, 93729. I'm in District 6. I know every one of you on this board, if we took a hand vote, if I asked you how many of you are against the sexual exploitation of women and children, every one of you would raise your hand, as well as, I hope, everybody in our audience, including Sarita, who just spoke. If I asked you how many of you are against gang involvement, every one of you would raise your hands. And I hope everybody in this audience as well. If those gangs also included the Crips, you would agree with me. If I asked you if you were against drug use, every one of you would raise your hands and say, absolutely, we're against drug use in our communities. How many of you are pro-police and pro-rule of law? Every one of you would raise your hand. And yet this man that you have invited to this community has these vile messages. I sent you a letter today, and I am very, very angry. Sarita, I want you to hear his quote. Bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. Lick on these nuts and suck the dick. That's Snoop Dogg. What's the translation? Women are bitches and good for nothing except as prostitutes and only good for tricks and paid for sex.
Sir,
You're gonna.
we are not going to allow that.
Oh, but we'll allow Snoop Dogg to be in our community. Hey, look at that. He's going to proclaim to the community with his huge speakers this very same message. Oh, how about this one? I'm about to show you how my.
Sir, if you can continue to, can you block them?
Excuse me. You need to, sir, excuse me, right here. You address the council, not the audience, please. Thank you. Can you address the audience? Thank you.
He's anti-law. I don't give a fuck about the law. That's Snoop Dogg. He said, I don't give a fuck. I'm Snoop Doggy Dogg. They keep fucking and it went too far. So Snoopy went straight to his gun.
Sir, your time is up. If you can step away from the mic. Thank you. If you wish to come and state your name and the address for the record.
Hello, my name is Thomas Shara.
Council President, can I say something? And I'm going to just say something to the, excuse me. We understand this is a highly charged topic, but we're going to ask that people be respectful to the audience and talk directly to us. Okay? Thank you.
You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the council having this open forum and appreciate all of you being here. I was at the meeting that was hosted by Councilmember Bredefeld and was also attended by Chief
Sir,
Dyer.
can you state your name
I'm
and
sorry.
your address for the record, please?
Yeah, name is Thomas Shara. Address is 1661 East Kenosha Avenue, Fresno. I live in District 6. And I want to register my unequivocal opposition to Grizzly Fest being located at Woodward Park. There are plenty of venues that are completely appropriate and equipped for such an event, such as Grizzly Stadium, Selland Arena, or the Save Mart Center. My concerns are for the noise and the noise ordinances that the city has, which are going to be violated, except that the promoters have provided $100,000 to the city, and so they can violate those ordinances. By contrast, I've attempted to get some changes done to my shop building on my residential property, and I've run into nothing but opposition. So the way I see it is that the city is being given money to allow its ordinances to be violated, and I think that this sends a very poor message to children and grandchildren, and I have grandchildren, in which they're going to learn that if you can pay, then the city will play. And so this is a very terrible message, and I urge you to vote against the concert at Woodward Park and locate it somewhere where it's appropriate. And to Sarita, when I was your age, I went to see Van Halen, Cheap Trick, and others at Selland Arena, and there was no problem with culture being located downtown. But a park that has a large number of residences around it is no place for a concert venue of 20,000 people. So again, I just urge that all the members of the council vote against the event being held at Woodward Park and move it to Chachansey or another appropriate venue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you can state your name and the address for the record, you will have 2 minutes.
My name is Matthew Collum. I live at 651 East Cambridge Avenue, Fresno, California, 93704. And I'm here to express support for Grizzly Fest and the venue. I think that for one, if we didn't want entertainment in our parks, we wouldn't have things like amphitheaters there already. I think it's a wonderful economic opportunity for Fresno, not just the promoters, but beyond that, I think that it's culturally relevant. I think Fresno is years, if not decades, behind as far as being culturally relevant. And I think there are a lot of people, myself included. I work for a marketing company. I've done work for the city. I care passionately about my community. And I think a lot of us want to see these challenges. I'm glad that there are people here expressing their views, but I think everyone should at least acknowledge that this has more to do than with economics and sound. And as this gentleman just demonstrated, I think it has a lot more to do with, race or class. So I just want you to take those things into account as you're making your decisions. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Sir, if you want to come on up, please state your name and your address for the record. You will have 2 minutes.
Okay. James Crane, 264 East Moody. We live about half a mile approximately from the venue site. First of all, I'd just like to start by saying I'm not here personally to deny music to music patrons. I'm a Woodstock generation. I like loud music as much as anybody. But I don't park my car with my mega bass stereo system in front of somebody's house at 11:30 at night and force them to listen to Lawrence Welk or whatever kind of music would turn them off. And also, I'm not here to keep promoters or businessmen from profiting on taxpayer-supported parks or from the use of those parks, even though it says right on the signs posted right at the entrance. I've got a picture of it. It says no for-profit business in the park. And the park closes at 10 o'clock. Now, years ago, I've lived in that area for about 30 years. And I've gradually seen the steady increase of little annoyances. Yeah, they're minor annoyances, but they add up after a while. And when they started rattling our windows with this mega bass at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, I'm not okay with that. There's a heart hospital that's closer than we are. You're going to point those speakers at Wildwood Mobile Home Park, and have you ever been inside a mobile home park? A mobile home, they're not exactly soundproof either. So you're going to rock those people. It's just common sense. Let's have some courtesy. That's big. We're just not sensitive enough to other people's space sometimes, and that's what we're asking here. Just keep it. If you want to have it at Woodward Park, fine, but turn it off at 10 o'clock, because I guarantee you, like the sound person said, that mega bass is not directional. You've sat in traffic next to a car, and you thought, well, that car's right next to me. And you look back, and it's 2 blocks back. That sound resonates everywhere. So
thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
If you can please state your name and address for the record, you will have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Jan Michelson. I live on Moody Avenue in Fresno, right around the corner, or actually across the street from Woodward Park. Initially, when I moved in, the park was actually not an entertainment venue. It was basically for exercise, running, picnics in the park, family time, feeding the birds and the ducks. And through the years, it's been exploited more and more, in my opinion, as an entertainment venue. They wanted cage fighting. There's BMX bikes. Yes, there's the runs for the kids that come from different schools. But the concerts are becoming more and more. They're louder. And because we live right across the street, this affects us personally. I think that our neighborhood has a reasonable expectation to not have to deal with more and more invasions of traffic, noise, trash that's left by all the people that park in our neighborhood to go to the park and utilize it for their own personal experiences. It's not that we do not support all kinds of music. It has nothing to do with this. For me, I, again, also am from the Woodstock generation. Listened to all of the music then. It's about having 20,000 people right across the street from my house. After I saw Corey James present that on the news last night and see how many people will be collecting in one place, I think that's a scary deal. And I don't understand why we can't not have those people descend upon our neighborhood and have it at a venue that has already been built for entertainment. It was there before. It was successful. So why put that upon us now and set a precedent that is going to create more and more opportunities for promoters to personally benefit, which I thought was not for personal benefit. And this is going to have more division upon our neighborhood. And we already have enough divisiveness in this country. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. You can state your name and your address for the record. You'll have 2 minutes.
Yeah, Shafiq Dada. I'm a Visalia native, but I just opened up a business here in downtown Fresno. I'm here because I supported being at Woodward Park. I know people feel that it should be in downtown Fresno because we're trying to revitalize the area. But as a business owner, I see it more as this is an event where it has a captive audience where people are going to purchase their food at the venue. They're going to get their drinks at the venue. So businesses surrounding are not going to benefit. More than anything, we're going to probably be slow. Second, the vision that these guys have for this event, Woodward Park is a great venue for it. It's outdoors. It has an amphitheater. These are things that are going to allow this venue to, this event to flourish as it continues to evolve. And then focusing on an artist, on one artist, one genre of music, an artist's lyrics that are from 20 plus years ago. People evolve, people change. Snoop Dogg is not the same Snoop Dogg as he was 20 years ago. Lyrics, sure, there's lyrics out there, but people evolve. I'm not the same person I was when I was 18. I've grown, things have changed. I think this is going to be a great event, and we should focus on other genres of music that are also going to be out there besides just one. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could state your name and your address for the record, you'll have 2 minutes.
Salutations. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Wu-Tangzi, and I live at 2115 North Inyo Street, just right down the road. But I'm here to just say that I'm just here to support the festival and what the promoters are trying to do here. I understand that music is a big problem for everyone, the majority of everyone here. But for me, I'm here to support the promoters and what they're doing because I'm a big activist for Grizzly Fest, been going there for years, and I believe it's a beautiful event. It brings in the community together, friends, families, whatever it is, from all types of ages, from ages 1 through 40. And I just believe if we can just all get together and just think about the bigger picture, and we just all come together as a community and just enjoy life, you know? Like, Fresno doesn't really have opportunities like this, and I think it'd be a beautiful thing for all of us. Just, I don't know, it's just a good time, you know? Like, people Oh, okay. People think about like, I don't know, I'm kind of nervous right now because you guys look very important, and I'm like, yeah, but anyways, yeah, I'm kind of nervous right now. I'm sorry, you guys, but I'm just here to just say that, I don't know. Okay, I'm just looking stupid. I apologize.
Go ahead.
I'm kind of shaking right now. But yeah, go Grizzlies.
Thank you. If you can state your name and your address for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Len Gerardo, 1623 West Andrews. I'm here to voice my support for Grizzly Fest happening at Woodward Park. I Uber drive in the Bay Area every other weekend, and I've been doing it for 2 years. I've worked Outside Lands 2 years in a row. I've worked Bottle Rock 2 years in a row. And I've seen how it is out there. And especially, I mean, Outside Lands is one thing, but especially Bottle Rock. I don't know if you guys have ever been to that in Napa, but at least where Woodward Park is away from the neighborhoods, Bottle Rock is thrown in a venue where it would be like if that concert was thrown at Liberty Elementary, right in the middle of the neighborhoods. And those neighborhoods truly get taken over. And everybody in the neighborhood seemed to be okay with it. Not only that, but people actually walk up to the fences to listen. And I can already see that we have a much better, I mean, even though the parking situation there isn't ideal, it can be managed. And I know that it can be managed because I've been involved with Grizzly Fest for the last 4 years. And I would like to say that I know for a fact that the organizers are doing their due diligence, and they want to put on a quality event, and they don't want to step on all these people's toes because they want it to happen again and again. You know, and this is just the jump-off point. I mean, it's Snoop Dogg and Nas this year, but it could be somebody that's more palatable to the neighborhood in the years to come. You know, this is all just the beginning, and I really think that it's going to be a good thing, so that's why I'm here to voice my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, excuse me, sir, you already shared your comments, and so we want to give everyone else an opportunity to come and speak. So everyone just gets the 2 minutes. Sir, you've already shared your 2 minutes, so we won't be able to take any additional comments from you. Thank you. Well, can we go to the next speaker, sir? If you can state your name and your address for the record, you will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Charles LaRue at 9454 North Woodmont Drive, about quarter mile from the venue. Yeah, my question, one of my questions is, we have lots of venues for these kind of concerts here in Fresno. What is the real impetus for having it at Woodward Park? We have something over here at Chitansi that is a wonderful place to have music festivals. As a matter of fact, B.B. King was there, gave a glorious concert. That was before we spent $200 million on revitalizing downtown, but we're not encouraging promoters to come downtown. I don't quite understand that. And the Heron Jaguar is spending, I don't know how many millions of dollars in rebuilding their offices down there and their buildings just to bring more people downtown as well. So it's not necessarily the concert for sure, it's the venue. And as mentioned before about Selland Arena and others, what is the real reason that we're picking Woodward Park? I don't quite understand that. It is, we have restaurants, we have other things downtown here. I drove down the other day, I spent some time downtown. You've all done a really wonderful job, and we need to bring people downtown to revitalize this downtown. And the first gentleman that spoke here mentioned something about some of the neighborhoods around Woodward Park would be cordoned off. Does that mean we're going to have barricades on city streets? Our city streets, are there's going to be guards posted there to check your ID to go in the park? I've parked at these before. I was a resident of Woodward Park area. I came over and I parked illegally and used the park because I didn't want to go in and pay the money. But I know people park illegally on these places. So is there going to be guards that are going to be watching these? No, I don't think so. So it's the real bottom line is that why Woodward Park and why not other places? What is the real reason behind this? We may not have an influence on the council's vote tonight, but we will when the votes.
Sir, can you wrap up your thought?
When voting comes up, when you all get reelected. So we will remember these.
Thank you. You can state your name and your address for the record. You will have 2 minutes.
My name is Jamie Nelson. I live at 4572 North Glen Avenue, Fresno, California, 93704. I'm in support of the event. I actually do not get along with the promoter of the event. We have a long-standing history of just not getting along. So this is not a bias where I'm just sort of, in it because I'm doing music locally or I'm a young man that's sort of into culture as it's been bandied about. I stand firmly against the concept that this is not about race. It very much is about race. It's something that this is what we're doing. So this is how we're approaching it, is when that idea comes up, that concept is pretended to be, and it's acted as though it's a foreign concept to these people. But it is clearly about that. Why would this man come up here and grandstand the way he did, perform lyrics from a Snoop Dogg song, say the N-word 3 times to prove his point in front of the same types of people that he says, or he claims to be affected by these lyrics and content? He didn't feel a problem doing it here to keep it out of his neighborhood, because his neighborhood is protected by his supremacy as a white man in this country. And I'm not afraid to mince words about that. My problem is the attempts that they're doing. They're attempting to snuff out a group of people that are bringing commerce into the community, and they're doing it in a way where they're just simply being racist about it. And there's no other way that I can put it. And a racist never comes into a venue and says, I'm being a racist. They use the means at which they have at hand, and that is members like Steve Brandau, members like Gary Bredefeld, and members like that man right there, Clinton Olivier. Men that have actively made attempts to snuff out the homeless community, and that have made incredibly gross statements about members of this community that have been historically marginalized. And I think that is why they have their support, and I think that's why, similarly, why they think the way that they do. My name is Jamie Nelson. Thank you.
Nathan, I did get your card. Sorry.
It's okay.
If you can state your name and the address for the record, you will have
Absolutely.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam President and council members. Nathan Alonzo with the Fresno Chamber of Commerce, 2331 Fresno Street, 2 blocks away from wonderful City Hall. So here to talk about the Fresno Chamber's support of Grizzly Fest 2018 happening at Woodward Park. We believe that this is something that benefits our local economy. It benefits the businesses within our community. When we look at the process, the promoters of this event have sat down with the administration. They have sat down with staff here at City Hall. They have sat down with council members. They have deliberated. They have negotiated. They have come to terms. They have compromised in order to get to where we are at today. A compromise is where both parties walk away not 100% happy with the outcome, and this is by no means perfect for either side, but that's usually what happens when you negotiate. As far as the economic development goes, we're going to see a huge influx of cash come into our community, and specifically in the areas around where the event is going to be happening, on top of the $100,000 that the city's going to get as a rental fee. So this, for a council and for an administration that keeps talking about economic development, that keeps talking about quality of life issues and amenities, and specifically events fall within that, it's important that we showcase that we can bring events of this magnitude, this size, into our community. So we ask you to join us, the Fresno Chamber, and the business community in supporting this item and having Grizzly Fest 2018 at Woodward Park. Thank you.
Thank you. If you can state your name and your address for the record, you will have 2 minutes.
Mike Bowman, 1550 North Wilson Avenue. I come here in favor of Grizzly Fest happening at Woodward Park as well. Unlike Mathar De Leon earlier, my job has also been in marketing, and I've worked with the city, I've worked with the Visitors Bureau, and I've worked with some very powerful people in the last year to 2 years Grizzly Fest has always been the bragging anecdote to all of those conversations. And I really hope that this board realizes how good we have it and how good it's going to get. And if we don't support it, it's going to leave. I come from a generation, I'm on the board of Fresno's Leading Young Professionals for the last 3 years, okay? This is the generation that we like to think that we're moving the community in a positive direction, okay? This is also about bridging downtown to Northwest Fresno, where we've heard the comments of the separation of racism. You know, we are trying here. This is a group of people trying to make something really great, and it really is a hit to the gut that it's getting stopped down by the residents of North Fresno. And you say you're part of Woodstock. If the 25-year-old version of you were here, they'd be telling you to hike up the boots, grab a drink, and go party. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment? You have an opportunity right now. Okay, seeing none, we'll come back to the dais. Councilmember Brandau. Councilmember Bredefeld.
Yeah. First, I'd like. Did you want to come and speak? Okay. Well, I was going to ask if you or your brother wanted to come up and speak at all first. Why don't you do that, and you can, and then I'll speak, but give you an opportunity.
My name is Vartan Akimian. Hello, neighbors. I live half a mile from Woodward Park. So, and this is my brother Aaron Akimian.
My name is Aaron Akimian. Yeah. So first of all, I want to just say thank you to all the council members, fire, PD, everybody that's met months. We started this in September to really get this thing going and to express some of the concerns of the neighbors. Your concerns are my concerns. Okay, I don't want to come up here and people feel like I just want to throw a big party in your backyard. I live there. I went to Clovis West. Your district is pretty much my district. What we discussed with council members and PD and fire and everybody was how to mitigate this and how to work with the city of Fresno to make this a successful event for our community. Unfortunately, when you start putting on events, they just grow, and you can't control the growth of it, okay? And as this event grew, and as Chukchansi Park wasn't available for us to produce this event, let me reiterate that. My best friends are at Chukchansi Park for the Fresno Grizzlies, and I love those guys dearly. If I can do an event there, which we've already discussed of doing other concerts at Chukchansi Park of magnitude, a concert, not a music festival. There's two different types of angles to produce those events. We would have done it, okay? Fulton Mall is amazing. We saw the growth. We tried it. We did a feasibility report on every park in the city of Fresno, Fresno County, Madera County, Tulare County before we approached the city of Fresno. So I want everybody to understand we did months of due diligence. From May 4th, the week after last year's event happened, we started working on this for this year. And I want to thank again everybody and Mr. Bredefeld for your concerns and working along with you and educating you. I know you had a town hall, and I hope you educated them on some of the same things we were educating with you on the parameters on how to make this a safe event for the neighbors in the area, because that was some of the first things we identified is how to make sure the neighborhoods are safe and how we can create a security system so people won't be parking in your neighborhoods, littering in your neighborhoods. We would be supplying the security from Fresno PD and so forth to protect the grounds that weekend. So thank you again, once again, and I hope we can continue to grow this thing because it's a beautiful thing for our community. We do it as a labor of love. This isn't something we do because we feel like it's our only means of income and how for us to live. We want to work with the city. We want to improve our parks. I want to thank Mr. Bruce Rudd again for the whole process and educating us on how the park system needs help and growth. And so myself and my brother, when we decided to grow this event, we felt like Woodward Park, after doing the feasibility report, would be an ideal location for our city to celebrate. A weekend of celebration and Fresnos to come together. We don't want to separate this from the north and south side of Fresno thing. It's not about that. That's what music does. Music brings people together to show love, happiness, celebrate. And are there going to be some knuckleheads? There's going to be knuckleheads no matter where you go in life. You can go to Save Mart Center, Selland Arena, it doesn't matter. Things are going to occur. And it's our job to hire the best team, Fresno PD and the fire department, to do the best job we can to mitigate any issues that may occur. So thank you. I'm going to let my brother have a word. And thank you.
Thank you, too. I just want to really thank you, Paul. You've been very supportive from the beginning of the Grizzly Fest festivals, and Oliver, your participation last year was pretty awesome. Thank you to all the council members. for all of your input and the time you took out to meet with us. Some of the concerns, obviously, I think there were a couple questions in regards to economic impact. To address the economic impact question, we're projecting that this is going to have a $3 to $4 million impact on the city of Fresno. And that's pretty substantial. Every festival in America, the majority of them are in the parks. They're in their public parks. So, we've even talked about bringing Wi-Fi into Woodward Park and taking on that cost for the city. If this is a partnership that we can get into, that's about a $100,000 cost. So we want to give back to the community, just like Aaron said. We want to give back to the community. This is not about north, south, east, west. This is our event. This is our festival. This is our opportunity to bring these types of events to the people of Fresno. And the civil interest in this festival outweighs the discourse. I guarantee you that. And if the civil interest outweighs the discourse, then it is your job as representatives to address that and to support the civil interest of this. I thank you guys again. I look forward to working with you on this festival and many other events in the future. And I will address anybody that has any concerns that's here. I have your concerns. I live next to you, okay? So I will take time to meet with them. If you guys would like some free tickets to the event, you can have some free tickets. But that's all I really have to say, unless there's other questions that you'd like me to address. If you want me to address some of their questions, I'm willing to do that. 1319 East Everglade, 93720. I live about half a mile away. Is this okay? Is this proper to do this? Okay. I don't know what the protocol is, so.
Yeah, not really. I think that you need to be addressing your comments
Okay.
here to
Okay.
Councilmember Bredefeld.
I'm willing to talk to any community member outside of this. I'll be here. So thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Could I first address Nathan from the chamber? Nathan? Just had a couple of quick questions. And first, before I say anything, I'm really disappointed when people bring up and play the race card. The people in my district are not being racist when they have concerns about their neighborhood or the traffic concerns or safety concerns or wondering what impact this is going to have on their neighborhood or Woodward Park. And it's very disappointing that that often gets played. Hopefully at some point we'll get past that, because I think they would have the same concerns and so would I, if Eminem was playing there till midnight or there was country music going till midnight. I mean, there's a larger issue here which I intend to get into. But Nathan, you mentioned that there's tremendous economic impact and benefit to the area. No question. Would there be tremendous economic benefit if this was held downtown, or is this only economic benefit in Woodward Park?
There is economic benefit as long as it is in the city of Fresno. Being that the organizers in the city of Fresno, council members have all worked together and they have felt that going forward this is the best venue to have it. Being on the model that they're looking at for a music festival, we saw no reason to not support it. We would be supportive of if they wanted to come back in October and have something similar to this and perhaps that same venue or another part of the city, we'd look at that too.
Okay, so when they had it at Grizzly Chachansey Park the last 3 years, there was tremendous economic benefit to the city. There was tremendous economic benefit to downtown.
Anytime that there is a large event in any part of the city, there is a tremendous amount of economic benefit, especially an event or a music festival this size. But when we're looking at this item and the scope of this specific event, being at Woodward Park and the information that they brought forward and the information that was brought up a couple weeks ago, we felt that if it was going to happen, it was going to be going forward at Grizzly Park, or if Grizzly Fest was going to be going forward at Woodward Park, given everything that the entertainment group put together, that this was something that would be of tremendous economic benefit to the city as a whole, being that this was the scope and the project that they were looking at.
Okay, thanks, Nathan. First I want to thank the council for giving us 2 weeks. I know, there was a vote supposed to take place. I asked for the time, and I really appreciate the council members that gave us that time. we were able to meet with the promoters, and I have an appreciation for the promoters in the sense that I think they're very sincere in terms of trying to address the impacts. I mean, I've worked with people where I don't feel they're that sensitive, and I think they have been sensitive to it and addressing these things. So I appreciate that from them as well. You know, this for me, this for me is really about a policy call. When we're accepting $100,000 to toss aside our noise ordinance at this park. It could be any park, and it may be one of the parks in one of the other council members' districts in the future. Obviously, a concert on a much smaller scale. I think we're setting a bad precedent. I think we're setting a bad policy. I don't know where this is going to lead if this moves forward. $100,000 gets us a 10 p.m. noise ordinance removed until 11:30. What does $150,000 with someone else? What ordinance will we set aside in the future for $200,000? That's a real issue. I mean, we can ignore it. We can act like that's not happening here, but that's exactly what's happening here. And if we had kept this at 10 p.m., I probably would have supported this with a lot of concerns and try to mitigate the measures that there'll be. I mean, you're talking about 20,000 people. We've never seen that amount of people in Woodward Park. I think when I asked about Taco Fest, which apparently was very successful, and we didn't get a bunch of calls in my district. It was 5,000. Bruce, is that the correct? Anybody know what the number was? No, I heard. I don't remember. Was it Chief Dyer? I'm not sure. Chief, did you say it was about Taco Fest 7,000? Okay. So this is 3 times that amount or more, maybe 4 times. So I don't know what the impact is going to be, but I think we ought to be concerned about what the potential impact might be. You know, I've talked about, we just opened up a $20 million Fulton Street. Some people voted for it on this dais. You know, a lot of celebration on that day. Thousands of people there. We talked about that being a cultural events center. We have an arts district, a mural district. We have hotels. We have 2 highways. We have Chichansey Park. We have Tioga Sequoia Brewing. We have a lot of amenities and ability to do an event like this. We looked into other urban music festivals where they've had 20,000 people in other cities. They work. They can happen. And it seems that, in some sense, we're kind of abandoning the downtown and actually doing a flight to the north. And we often get criticized for the flight to the north, and it seems kind of odd that I'm fighting to keep it downtown. The promoters say it really doesn't work down there. I don't know. I think it potentially could work downtown, but I'm really concerned about what impacts are going to be in the park here. So we've met. We've had some mitigation measures. One thing I'd like to ask you, Bruce, in terms of the contract, we have in place, and I believe the music will shut off at 11:30 because we have some of those financial fines in place, which is great. Initially, it was going to be midnight. I was concerned about it being extended even later. And so those are in place, but I don't notice, we talked about, and maybe the promoters can talk about, I'd like you to talk about in the contract where the neighborhoods would be, in a sense, sealed off for only the people who live in the neighborhoods. And there, maybe you can talk about that, and why is that not in the contract?
Well, if it's not in the contract, it was an omission because I included it in the staff report, and both the promoters will stand up and before the neighbors tonight and tell you that they, as part of those discussions we had with you, as well as with other members of the committee, as well as the attorney's office, is that they will, as I explained, with the Cross City event, they will provide additional mitigations, which includes barricades to those neighborhoods that are impacted, where they will have either Fresno PD or security who will be checking, which is very comparable to what occurs during the Cross City event. So they have made that commitment. So all we just need to do is simply make an amendment to that agreement.
Okay.
But I can tell you that they've given me the word that they're going to do that. They can stand up here in front of all you and make that as well. So it's just simply an omission that it was not, but it was in the staff report.
Okay. Yeah, please.
So yeah, absolutely. We're going to work with PD. So whatever they advise, that's what we're going to do. And any area that we have barricaded or any area that we have any, I guess you could say we're withholding access to vehicles, we're going to have someone there that's going to be checking IDs. Absolutely. I think that was one of the concerns of the community. So that's going to happen. And also, we're going to be shuttling people into the event for free. We've identified 3 locations where people could go park, and we will shuttle people in for free. We're taking on that cost. That's what a lot of festivals do. So it's not like, that's completely out of left field. So we're going to be doing that. We're working with Uber right now. Hopefully we can have 1,000 Uber drivers in the town, and it's not going to be where you have to call Uber. We'll actually have them there, and we're going to have a designated area just adjacent where the Zinkin property is and the Cashin property is, so that we can just have a row of Uber cars bringing people in and out. Our goal is to incentivize using Uber and our shuttle system. And so parking in the park and other parking areas around the park are going to be much more expensive. So we're also going to have signage. So if you do come to a barricade, you come to an area, it's not going to just say you can't park here. It's going to say, where can you go? What can you do? Who can you call? So, we'll work that out with PD and address that. Obviously, that's a huge concern. I go jogging. I always say the name wrong. What's the marathon? The Tri-City? Yeah, so when that marathon happens, I went jogging through, from my house to the park, and I noticed there's a lot of cars parked in those neighborhoods. And so the first thing I addressed with my brother is we got to barricade that area. We don't want anybody there. We don't want any loitering. And the event is going to be shut off at 11:30. Prior to even the 12 o'clock curfew, we want that half hour for the exodus. We do not want people hanging out there after 11:30. So there's going to be a procedure that we'll work with PD again with to get everybody out of there safely at 11:30. So the music is not going to go on till 11:31 or 11:32. It would be economically very foolish of us if that were the case. So that's going to get stopped, and we'll mitigate all of that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. And Chief, could I ask you just a couple of questions? And so I understand you're going to meet with the promoters and address some of these other safety concerns and formalize that. Is that going to be in a part of the contract as well?
Yeah, once council makes a decision whether or not they're going to go forward with Woodward Park, we'll meet with the promoters next week. We'll devise a security plan that meets our approval, and that will be based on what their approximate attendance is for each of the days, what the fencing schematic is going to look like, and so that we can be able to control egress and ingress. We'll make sure that every individual that goes into that park, into that fenced area, goes through a metal detector, and we will have officers positioned both inside and outside of the park for that purpose, as well as patrolling the neighborhoods for that security. And all of those costs are going to be incurred by the promoter, not by the city of Fresno. So we're going to have ample officers. I don't know what that number is until we get all of those things determined. It could be 40 officers. It could be 50 officers. But it will be dependent upon the crowd size, and then we'll also decide where the beer garden is going to be and make sure that we have that in place as well.
Okay, and thank you, Chief. And Bruce, just one final question. In terms of this coming, you said this is going to be reviewed by the city manager and city staff. I think the council should also be involved in determining how this event went and have some input as to whether or not this should occur in Woodward Park again. I don't think, I'm uncomfortable with it just being a city staff decision. It's coming to the council this time, I guess, because of the $100,000. Is that right?
Well, it's because of the location, the $100,000. It's the whole licensing agreement and the fact that it is going beyond the 10 o'clock time. So
okay,
yes.
so I think the council should weigh in on this.
So, council member, and I think if the council wants a briefing after the event, then we can certainly provide that. I don't see any reason why. There were some comments made that at some point in time as a policy that there were some council members who wanted to give that authority to the city manager. But given that this is a first time, then absolutely, I would recommend to the city manager that staff would come back and present a workshop and identify both what went well and what didn't go well. As I shared with you and I've shared with others, the first cross-city event, this building was inundated with complaints.
Correct.
We learned from those mistakes, and now it is a well-attended and basically a signature event for this community. So absolutely, we can do that workshop, and we'll provide you with the information as to what went well and what didn't go well.
Okay, and City Manager, okay. So again, I won't belabor the point. I'm not going to support this. I wish this were downtown for the reasons I've outlined, for the policy issues and all of that. But again, I do want to thank the council again for the delay, and I want to thank Bruce and the city staff and the mayor's staff for really, and the promoters for trying to address these concerns. I suspect this is going to move forward. I wish it weren't because of what I said, but hopefully these measures that are going to be implemented will really mitigate any impacts. We'll be looking to that, and hopefully it'll be a safe event if that's in fact what the council moves forward with. Thanks.
Councilmember Brando.
All right. Thank you, Council President. And you know, first off, it's important for me to say a couple things. I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Bredefeld, for the way he handled this. I think that there could be some support to move this along tonight, but it isn't for it isn't because we don't like downtown or we prefer Woodward Park, but I think that the promoters try to do what they could, and this is where it's going to land. But I want to thank you, Councilmember Bredefeld, because at some point a few weeks ago, many of us in this room, and even for the folks watching, this was some pretty ugly rhetoric floating around Fresno. It really was. And at that moment, I think Council members Bredefeld and you too, Steve, Councilmember Brandow, had an opportunity to either continue that rhetoric going in a real vile, ugly direction for the city, or to step in and show some leadership and I think course correct. And I think you did that. I really do. I think you did that as well. And I appreciate you both for the leadership that you exercised. I definitely appreciate our promoters. I appreciate you all and you know, you guys gave a little bit of the background so for the people in this room and for our benefit, but there's a tremendous amount of effort and thoughtfulness that you all have put into this event. You all have brought this event to the city of Fresno for a number of years and raised this profile to where it is now, has some statewide notoriety, and it happens right here in Fresno. And we should be proud of that and embrace that. So I thank you guys for continuing to move along, for taking the risk on behalf of this community, because I know this isn't what you do full time. You know, you guys do this in aside to your regular day jobs. So I thank you for the fact that you chose to bring this to Fresno. And I got to thank our city staff who did a fantastic job in working with you, being creative. You know, Bruce, I know you were right in there every step of the way. I know you hammer these guys pretty hard because I know how you negotiate. So I thank your effort and to our very my favorite city manager over here, Wilma Kwan. Thank you for allowing your staff to get in and make this work. So I just wanted to say that because it needs to be said. A lot of you all don't realize what happens behind the scenes here, but a lot of things had to come together in order for us to get to this night, to this moment. I'm a community guy. I'm a neighborhood guy. So now that I said my thank yous, I'm gonna say what I really think. I'm a neighborhood person. So when this first came to me, funny enough, I attended Grizzly Fest last year. It is a fantastic event, and as I started out my comments by saying, but I'm a neighborhood guy through and through. Anybody that's watched me the last few years on this dais, my colleagues sitting to the right and left of me, and anybody that's in the public knows that I fight for neighborhoods day in and day out, pretty hard, no matter whether they are, by the way. I don't just fight for my own neighborhood in District 3. I do my best to protect neighborhoods no matter where they are. So I'm going to be honest with you. The neighborhood argument, as Councilmember Bredefeld will tell you, and some other council colleagues and the city staff, was really pulling at me. And the promoters will tell you that too. As much as I support the event, as much as I like the event and think it belongs here in Fresno, the fact that it could be disrupting a neighborhood was really messing with me, because I stand up for neighborhoods no matter where they are in the city of Fresno. I really do. And so I think that a couple of weeks ago I felt differently about this than I do today because of that. Now, I will tell you, to be fair, I do think, to the gentleman's point, I don't want to pretend like there were not tinges of racism floating through this, because I heard that too. And it bothered me deeply. But the neighborhood issue overwhelmingly moved me to not want to support this going to Woodward Park until I thought about a couple of things. So I'm gonna be honest with you. What really made me shift to be able to be supportive of this, yes, we are changing policy, and we are taking payment for that change in policy. But I just want to tell you folks, we do that all the time. Anytime you see a business come and ask for a general plan update or a rezone or what have you, we change our policy and accommodate a use that we would otherwise not do. It is a fairly common practice for us to, in the effort to be business friendly to enterprise in Fresno and in most cities across the country, to allow a business to change a use for either permanent or a specific amount of time. What they're doing is no different. And in all honesty, the impact that we're talking about is 90 minutes for 2 days. So I don't want, they're asking for an extension of 90 minutes over 2 days. And I had to weigh that. I weighed the importance of what this event is, what it's becoming in our community, the recognition that Fresno is getting, the fact that we have young entrepreneurs that continue to raise the profile of our city, and what they were asking at the end of the day was simply to extend this time for a couple of hours for 2 days out of the year. I waited as a policymaker, and I realized I believe what they're asking and what they're bringing to this community outweighs the inconvenience for the neighborhood for a couple of days. So I do absolutely fight for neighborhoods all the time, but I also fight for this community in a much larger way every time as well. And so I think that the measures that have been put in place, they have gone through extensive lengths, I think, and with Councilmember Bredefeld's help and city staff, I think that there were some things that were brought to the table that even further secure this event for the neighborhood as best as they could. It's never going to be perfect, but I think that everyone has gone out of their way. Again, Councilmember Bredefeld, with your leadership on that, along with city staff and the promoters, to ensuring that even if this event is going to happen, it's going to happen in the best possible manner with the idea of protecting the neighborhood in mind. But to you folks that live there, I don't want to lie to you. We know that there can be some inconvenience for a couple of hours for you. We do know that. And we're sorry about that. We're sorry about that. But I want you to also know we do this all the time. We change our policy. We accommodate business and enterprise all the time in the city of Fresno. And this is no different than that. So listen, I'm going to wrap my comments up. I'm going to be supportive of the item today. I think because normally we would allow the council member in the district to make the motion, but since I know that he's probably on the other side of this, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the item. And thank you all for all your hard work. And I hope it passes. And good luck to you guys.
Councilmember Brenda.
All right, I'm gonna try and make my comments relatively short. Some of them are kind of disjointed. I hope I can make some sense. I also want to join Oliver in thanking Gary for asking for the additional 2 weeks. Sounds like you even made some improvements. You had a conversation with staff and with the promoters, and sounds like you even made some improvements even though you're not supporting it. So I do appreciate that, and I appreciate you two guys giving us that extra 2 weeks. I know when you hear, oh my gosh, they're going to set us back 2 more weeks. It's fearful when you've got money on the line. I want to say, I attend concerts at Woodward Park, and I'm just going to throw some stuff out there that I think is kind of relevant. I've probably been to a dozen of the Kiss Country $5, $6 concerts during the summertime, and I've enjoyed them. And Oliver, I wear my cowboy hat and have a good time. And there's, you know what, there's some rowdy characters there too. So that happens everywhere. I think one of the brothers said that. As a matter of fact, this is the part I don't even know if I should admit publicly, but I've been to a Shakespeare play also, right? Does that shatter your image of me? But I've been to a Shakespeare play. So I do believe our parks are great places to do different things, okay? And I can't say that, although probably the thing I've done the most is play Frisbee golf there. And it's wonderful to do Frisbee golf, but I think occasionally some of these other things fit there as well. The Kiss Country concerts are supposed to be wrapped up, I think, by 10, but I usually cut out at the last song so I can beat the crowd out the door. But it's very interesting. You know, music is so subjective. It's just crazy the way music affects all of us. On one of those concerts, I heard a guy for $5. His name's Joe Nichols. He went on to become a country star just out here at Woodward Park when he was just a nobody. And you know what? He sang a song that he became most popular for, country concert, Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off, right? So my mom probably wouldn't like to hear Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off. So it's just very weird the effects that music has on all of us. I wanted to say that, so now specifically about this concert, the thing that I have the most problem with, and I know the neighbors that I represent. So for those of you that don't know, Woodward Park's officially in Councilman Bredefeld's district, but it's right up against my district as well. And so I have neighborhoods to the southwest and to the immediate west of Woodward Park. And maybe some of the folks that came today are from District 2, right next to Woodward Park. So I've been really paying attention to what some of those folks have been saying to me and getting in touch with me. By the way, I do want to thank the promoters, Aaron, for coming to my office and meeting with me as well. And you guys were very, very professional. I believe you're very professional. And, you know, you told me all the mitigation factors, and that was even before this last wave. So the fact that you guys were flexible and even added a few more things, I do appreciate that. The 10 p.m. thing probably weighs on me the most. It's not the style of music, although I will admit I don't have a Snoop Dogg CD or anything in my possession. It's not my music, but I could get over that. I really wish that it was done at 10 p.m. like the other concerts. That's my main concern, okay? That didn't happen, and now it's going to go to 11:30. I wanted to say that I think that the city of Fresno sometimes doesn't do the best job rolling things out into the community and messaging those things to the community. And I've expressed this to the mayor, to Mayor Brand. I talked with him about it again today. I think we could have done a little bit better job. What I would have liked to have seen, and I know this wouldn't have taken care of everybody, but I would have liked to have seen a community meeting ahead of the decision to have the concert there. When the community members, the people that live close by, could have heard about it rather than getting surprised by it in the Fresno Bee or on KMJ radio. Because by the time you hear that, and you hear talk show hosts, and you hear people with opinions and agendas, then, you know, you make up your mind instantly and you don't listen to the other side. I really wish that the city of Fresno maybe would have engaged the community ahead of making the decision, okay? Now, first, I'm not naive, though. Some of the folks never would have, they don't want it no matter what. We heard from a couple of them today. But I do believe that we could have done a better job approaching the neighborhoods that surround Woodward Park. That's my honest opinion. And if we would have done that, maybe we could have worked with the community and the neighborhoods out there. I don't think we would have ever got everybody's buy-in, but we could have shown them what we're trying to do. I believe this could have been, we could have said, you know, we're going to try this for one time and kind of see how it goes. Maybe some, not all, would have said, okay, let's sit back, see if it can work, okay? But instead, that's not how the neighbors heard about it. They heard about it from people who already had predisposed opinions, just throwing it out there, and it's hard once you hear about it, you're like, man, my neighborhood's getting invaded. So I think a little bit of the onus is on us. The administration and the city of Fresno could have done a better job. So just so you know, we do lots of outreach on all kinds of things in this city. And I'm probably one of the least outreach guys up here. But we do a lot of outreach for all kinds of stuff. Matter of fact, all kinds of stuff, including our parks. And yet on this issue, we didn't talk to the neighbors first. So that gives me some stomach burn right there. But now that's all water under the bridge. And unfortunately, that's where we're at today. I am going to be very hopeful that that if we hold this concert, that it all goes well. And I believe, listening to my colleagues, it's probably going to happen. So I'm going to be out there at least one of the 2 nights, not to enjoy the music, although maybe lightning will strike and I'll find something fun out there. But I'm going to be out there to walk in the neighborhoods that I represent, to talk with people, to make sure nothing too crazy happens. And my commitment is to my neighborhoods that I am very protectful of, to make sure that they can relate to me in the future. Maybe we can all sit down and decompress after this is over. And maybe things weren't as bad as some of us feared. Maybe things need to be tightened up if we were ever do it again. But at the end of the day, right now, the way this was rolled out, the citizens that I represent, and I like you guys a lot, and you know I do, and no disrespect, and I mentioned this might happen in our conversation. The citizens that I represent are asking me on about a 10-to-1 ratio to say no, okay? Now, sometimes I clash with people that tell me no. I have to weigh the reasoning, okay? But tonight, the way this was rolled out, the fact that I think we could have done a better job, I'm not going to support this concert in Woodward Park, because the neighbors that I represent, and I am elected to represent people. I don't get to always just make Steve Brandau's own personal opinion. So I'm going to represent my neighborhoods tonight, and I'm not going to support it. But that being said, I'm going to be very hopeful and watchful that we have a great event, as good as possible, and maybe things won't be as bad as some of us are hoping for. Possibly the door will be open in the future. But I'm going to look at this very closely for this time, and I just wanted my colleagues and the public to know that I can't support it tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver Baines.
Yeah, I'm going to say something really quick that I neglected to say. I wrote a note to myself and then didn't read it, unfortunately. And I wanted to touch on the most sensitive topic, and the gentleman in the hat mentioned about the racist overtones and undertones, and I agree, sir. You're right. I heard that, and what I do want to say, in a total agreement with that, is that my colleagues are not racist, and I want to take a moment to say that I work with these 3 men very closely. I work with Councilmember Brandau, Bredefield, and Olivier. He's not there right now, but I can assure you that these men are not racist, and this is although they may be in opposition to this, I know that because I've spoken with them, and I wanted this room to hear that. We are city leadership. We disagree sometimes, pretty forcefully with each other. But at the end of the day, I can assure you that nobody on this dais is a racist.
Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you, Council President, and thank all of you for showing up tonight and giving us your views and opinions. And I hope you all have an open mind and would hopefully give this event an opportunity to succeed and be a part of the culture of Fresno. And I want to thank my colleagues for their comments. And like all of us, we are neighborhood and community conscious. Those are the people that voted us into office, and we have to take their concerns into account. We all have the ability to have community meetings. We all have the ability to reach out to all of you in various forums. So. And that's incumbent upon each one of us to do what we think is the appropriate thing to do, depending on the issue. But I wrote down a few things myself, and the venue concern I thought was interesting, because I would love to have, and my people, my 72,000 people, The majority of them that have spoke with me would love to have this event in Granite Park. We're trying to do the best we can to improve Granite Park. I talked to Terrence Frazier. He's a public-private partner with us, and we're making vast improvements there. And something like this at that location, I think would be a great asset to District 4 and to our community. Unfortunately, we don't have those amenities yet, but the city is working on those along with my colleagues, and we're going to make Granite Park an outstanding park in our community. And so the next question is, where do you go? They did the analysis. My analysis was, well, where can you go that it has a large park with the amenities necessary to have this type of an event? Where could you go? What location for these events would showcase the city of Fresno? What location would put people in the north end of town where there are a lot more amenities than, I live south of Shaw, so there are a lot more amenities up there, but we're going to have a lot of people from out of town. I would have guessed, I'm just guessing, but I would say probably 7,000 to 8,000 people that don't live in Fresno. And this will give them an opportunity to see what Fresno has to offer. And there's a lot to this community, and we're all very proud of our community. And we need to expose that to more people. And someone mentioned Jaguar, Heron Jaguar. They're friends of mine. And when I was watching the Super Bowl, like many of you, when that commercial came on, I was shocked. And I said, boy, I hope I can see that again. And sure enough, they rolled it a second time. So we're all Fresno proud. I think we can agree to that. We're all Fresno proud. So I also wanted to say that with the Woodward Park venue, folks, that is the people's park. The city develops parks for people to recreate, that was brought up, congregate, and that is a regional park. A regional park. So with that in mind, it's for all the people. We all pay taxes. And taxes from all Fresnans pay for all the parks. So all people should be welcomed and be able to attend any park in the city of Fresno. And for those reasons, I think that's the proper venue. It is one of the people's parks in Fresno. And those that live nearby that came in today, I think you're very fortunate to live that close to that great park. My district is very light on parks, and we're making improvements on that as well. Vinland Park and Cary Park behind Fashion Fair. I'd love to have something like that, or Inspiration Park, and we're going to get there. I've got 3 years left. So, and I've got commitments from the city administration that we're going to do great. We're going to do better by that. So I was going to ask, let me say this, the impact on the city, the costs are zero. We've talked about the $100,000 to the Parks Department, FPD approval, parking and traffic issues. It all seems to be addressed to, I think, the majority of the people's satisfaction. And I think we all agree that it's been proven as a successful event. I was going to ask all those that attended Grizzly Fest, raise your hands. And I know the people that would, and I know the people that wouldn't. So those of you that have not, I know you're skeptical, you're wary about it. It's an event full of younger people. They're not our generation. They may not be your generation. We're not familiar with that situation, but the promoters have gone above and beyond to make everything as successful as possible as a Fresno event. So it was mentioned earlier about the Grizzly Fest, and Member Baines and I attended. So I had all that skepticism, and the bands that were listed, I had no clue. But my kids, 19 and 21, thought, well, Dad, can we go? Well, if I can go with you, we can go. And so I thought, well, I'll last about an hour, see what I have to see, being that skeptical person. And 6.5 hours later, we left when the venue closed down. And it was an amazing event, amazing music. I didn't understand a lot of it, but I enjoyed it. It was something different. So I just want to let you know that it was so well done. I just can't tell you more about it. Food was great. The venue was great. The music was good. And I look forward to going to the Grizzly Fest 2018 at that location. The last point I wanted to make on my experience, so I was standing by one of the stages, and there's 11,000 people there, and they're having a great time. I didn't see one incident. So, and I had a position where I could see a lot of the crowd because I wanted to make that judgment call. And so I saw, when I was a prosecutor, I was very friendly with the police department, and I saw a couple of old friends, and I wandered over to them, and we talked a little bit, and I said, well, you guys look a little sad, or you're bored or something. He goes, Paul, there's nothing going on here. This is kind of boring. This event is so well ran. There's nothing for us to do, but we're happy to be here. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think Oliver Baines and I discussed the 90-minute argument. And, so in our dialogue, I indicated to him that it would be 90 minutes on a Saturday, 90 minutes on a Friday. For the benefits, risk, balancing process, for me, it was easy. And it gives them an opportunity. So it's only 2 evenings. I ask you all to be patient and keep your minds open to this. Last thing I wanted to mention, I promised Amy Fuentes. She's one of your neighbors. She spoke at the last event, and I told her I would. She asked me, would you give them the information I gave you and the public at that time? So she lives right next door to the park. She realizes there would be a lot of activities at the park when she bought her home there. She has 2 children, 6 months old, 3 years old. She says there's lots of fundraising events, the state cross country and other events. And she said that a lot of people forgot to mention that those events start at 6 a.m. Her children are asleep. But with the announcements and all the things that transpire with that, she said, Paul, and to the people here that evening, I realize that, and I accept that. That's part of the Fresno experience. So she said that it would be a little inconvenient, but she realized that. So one of her quotes was, food and music bring life to the community. Another quote, it clearly works in other cities. Another quote, Fresno is a cool place. So with that in mind, I think this is a small inconvenience, if that, to our community, and we need to make Fresno a destination location and put us on the entertainment map for the state of California and the country. So that's my comments, and I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Caparillo. So the screen is clear. We'll go ahead and move on to the vote. So we'll go ahead and do it electronically. So who had made, Oliver, Councilmember Baines had made the motion, I second it. And so we'll go ahead and vote electronically. So, the motion passes 5-2, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here.